Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Muramasa. We most recently finished the end of the first chapter, and what a twist that was. The story told us this isn't a story about heroes, and then introduced us to someone who, at least to our protagonist, seemed like a hero. So of course, us enjoying the entertainment and well-written conflict of an exciting story, sat down and enjoyed that, only to find in a twist ending our hero is in fact no hero. Whether he's a villain or an anti-hero remains to be seen. I guess we'll be finding that out this chapter. I'm curious, I had a couple predictions. I was trying to figure out whether or not the pilot of Muramasa, whose name I forgot because I don't know, I didn't think he'd be the protagonist. I wasn't sure if he'd be either the actual protagonist after the first chapter, or if every chapter would be scenes from other people's lives that happen to interact with this guy. One of those two could be interesting, and I'm looking forward to finding out what it actually is. So now we're being introduced to someone. I have no clue who this is. They have a mustache. They got some dark hair. They look like they're at least 30, 40. And honestly, the scene looks like it could be from a Western. Mustache Man. And it starts with the chick pointing a garand at someone. So yeah, it could still be. It could be from a very recent Western.
やっぱり銃は好きになれません。煙たいですし、手応えも良くないですし。
I'll never grow to like guns. There's too much smoke and you don't get the right feedback from the kill. Life is hard.
おやお嬢様、飛び道具なのに手応えとはいかがなものでございましょう。
But mistress, surely there's no feedback from a ranged weapon.
あるんですよ。弾頭が標的を撃ち抜いた瞬間に指の先から脊椎の裏まで駆け巡る壊れたオルガンのような旋律がこう。
But there is that feeling you get the instant your shot tears through warm flesh, like a broken organ's melody coursing up your spine. Well, that's graphic.
それは単に充足したサディズムが体を震わせているだけなのでは？
Are you certain that's not just sadistic glee? Oh, that's a good question. Am I in school? No. I'm not presently in school. I just haven't updated my favorites in a long time. And most of those references were to places you could get like scientific articles for doing like research. So those would be like school websites and places for getting research papers when you're writing when you have to like write essays and they're like, we need you to get sources. I believe that's what's in that folder. Actually, I can check. I can check what's in that folder. It's an oh wow, it actually only has one thing in it. It has an ebook. It has the ebooks search filter for Google. That was before it was just a toggle and you had to actually write a custom query for it. So it doesn't even have that. There you go. Was I learning science? No. Oh well, computer science, I guess. No, is that really science? I don't know. It's very different. Probably not. But I was doing a minor in history. So I have so I had to do a bunch of research and get a bunch of primary and secondary sources for that. So researching articles and reading the latest stuff was somewhat useful.
そう片付けられてしまうとただの変態ね。ひどいバーや。
When you put it that way, I sound like some kind of freak. You're terrible, Sayo. So mean.
人にして人を殺せる輩は皆変態の異常者でございます、お嬢様。
Anyone who can kill a fellow human being is indeed a freak, most highness, mistress. Okay, I think that guy with the mustache just got shot. I think that's what happened. I was kind of going back through the dialogue to see if I missed something.
待て
Wait, he's not dead yet. Wait. Yeah, wait, what's going on?
どういうつもりだ
What's the meaning of this? Who are you, mysterious and aggressively dressed? And wow, his face matches his armor, all angular.
こういうつもりですけれども、
Exactly what it looks like.
六原大官長坂大尉殿です。
Captain Nagasaka, the Rokuhara prefect for this village.
長坂大尉、進駐軍司令部より派遣された巡察官として大和軍将兵の不適切な行いを是正することは私の責務ですの。
Captain Nagasaka, as the GHQ inspector assigned to this area, it's my responsibility to address the inappropriate behavior of Yamato's soldiers.
我が兵が機関に対し何か失礼な振る舞いでも
Did my men offend you in some way? Have you missed anything? We just learned that our musician friend is a GHQ inspector. Literally the line before. That is all we've gotten. Did his men offend you in some way? I don't know about that one.
村人の挑発、限度を超えた酷使、作業から脱落した者に対する死刑、いずれも軍師官として適切なやりようではありませんね。
I witnessed them drafting villagers into forced labor, working them to exhaustion, and then executing those who collapsed. Hardly conduct befitting a man in uniform, no?
そのようなことを機関に言われる筋合いはない
It's not your place to decide that.
六原に委任されているはずではないか
Rokuhara was promised sovereignty in Yamato. Yes, even Rokuhara bows down to GHQ, but it's kind of funny that they're just like, it's like your actual imperial overlords have more of a care for your population than the local leaders, and they're just like, we literally conquered this nation, but we didn't plan on killing everyone in it. What the fuck is wrong? I'm curious if she's mad that it's him wasting resources, or I think she's gonna do like the practical thing, right? She's gonna be like, hey, yeah, you're not supposed to just like randomly murder your civilians for giggles, you know? This country is in your care. Try not to fuck it up too badly. I assume that's her perspective, or at least the perspective she's gonna present. Seems very utilitarian, right? It's like, well, we gave you this place to rule, not to ruin. Stop fucking around. That's what I assume she's gonna be. Whether or not she actually cares. Remember her conversation with Yuhi? I do remember her conversation with Yuhi where she told him to leave before he got killed. Or bad shit happened to him, to be more precise. She offered him a ticket and was like, dude, if you don't leave, bad shit's gonna happen to you. And he's like, I'll stay, thanks. And then he died. Now, she promised him a world of pain, not immediate death, but whatever. Her music was very nice. It was. Apparently it blended in with the background because even we couldn't hear it in the soundtrack.
ええ、GHQ の監督の下で。
Yes, sovereignty, but under GHQ supervision.
最高事業の申請ならば党に済ませた許可も得ている
I already have approval for my mining project. Everything should be in order.
けれど、それはあくまで書類上のこと。あなた方の市政の実態を調査し、この町からの事実が発見された時には、状況の悪化を防ぐ措置を取るのが巡察官の職権のうち。
Oh, but that's just paper on some bureaucrat's desk. My job is to ascertain the reality of your operation, and it's well within my authority to address any problems I find.
バカな
Nonsense. I don't know what the authority of a GHQ inspector is supposed to be, so I'll just say, alright.
これは試験なのですけれど、民政局への付け届けが足りなかったのではありませんこと？
If I might offer my personal opinion, perhaps you should have been more generous in your gifts to the Civil Affairs Bureau? Is she saying she didn't bribe the Civil... Is she saying he didn't bribe the Civil Affairs Bureau enough to make them look the other way?
古武殿中佐の胃袋にも財布にも信頼にも奴の欲しがるものを欲しがるだけ詰め込んでやった
I've given Colonel Cobden
あれでもまだ
everything
足
he
りない
asked
と抜
for.
かすのか
I filled his belly, I filled his wallet, and his bed. Now he wants more?
それは確かですか？
Is that true?
確かだよ。この事業の予算の1割は奴が一人で食い潰したようなものだ。聞かん、何も聞かされておらんのか。
It is
奴は万事うまく取り計らうと請け負ったのだぞ。
It is 1/10 of my budget for this operation is going straight into his pocket. What, you weren't told? He promised to see everything went smoothly.
まあ大変。
My, how astonishing. Astonishing. That's not quite how she phrased it, but alright.
さよ、今のを聞きまして。私たち贈収賄事件の重大な証拠を掴んでしまったみたい。
Did you hear that, Sayo? I do believe we've stumbled upon evidence of serious corruption in our ranks.
大変ドラマティックな展開でございます、お嬢様。
Most dramatic turn of events, mistress.
バカにしているのか貴様らは。
Are you mocking
そ
me?
んなつもりはないのですけれど。
That
ね
wasn't my intent. Sayo?
はばかりながらお嬢様、客観的に評価いたしまして、我々は大尉殿を遺憾なく小バカにしております。
Speaking objectively, mistress, we have been mocking the captain rather mercilessly. Are they anti-corruption? I mean, she is an inspector. Is she an anti-corruption official, or is she just looking for a bribe on the side?
あら、そうでしたの？申し訳ありません。私ったらどうもこういうことには疎くて。
My apologies, Captain. I'm so dull when it comes to these things. I'm just like gonna press X to doubt that. Completely unaware? I don't know about that. I don't know.
目的は
What do you
No.
want?
目的？
Pardon?
帰還の目的だ。とどのつまり何が欲しいのだ。金か、それとも鉱山の利権か。ならそう言え。下手な揺さぶりなどかけずとも
Your
話
demands.
は
What are
聞
they?
いてやる。
Money? A share in the mine? Stop wasting time trying to rattle me and say so. I'm willing to bargain.
困ったことね、さよ。会話が通じていません。
How troublesome, Sayo. He doesn't seem to understand me at all.
誠に難儀なこ
I
と
agree,
で、
mistress.
いかがでございましょう。ここは一つ大尉殿の脳天に風穴を開けてやって、ちっとは物の道理がわかるようにして差し上げては。
Ooh, perhaps a nice big hole might help your words enter the good captain's thick skull? I don't know what that's chambered in, so I can't make a joke about the size of the hole. It'll just be conveniently the size of the bullet and perhaps a little bit larger on the other side.
それが親切というものかしら。では、そういうことですので。
I suppose that's only fair in the interests of consensus then?
Please go to your grave. せっかく村の人たちが掘ってくださった穴、有効にご活用くださいまし。
Please go to your grave. The villagers dug such a fine tunnel for you. It would be a shame not to put it to good use. It's funny that she's speaking English. She's presumably a representative of GHQ and possibly educated out of state, but her accent is pretty bad. Although she might just be speaking in that way so that it's easier for the officer to understand her? Let's give her the benefit of the doubt. Either that or she's a native here and was trained here. GHQ is English, right? Yeah, it's the British Empire. It's an organization in the British Empire that is now global. The British Empire.
小娘
Damn you, girl! Armor up, buddy. That's better. The instant the prefect, perhaps soon to be ex-prefect, dons his tsurugi and attacks the two women, the old man knows he must act. He also knows he'll not make it in time. Stopping that fool's his responsibility, for he alone knows the reason for his foolishness. He needs to settle it himself, to end it without another drop of innocent blood spilled. Pardon? If only he could have stopped the prefect before his madness swallowed the village, 2 worthless old men would have died, and that would have been the end of it. Sorry, what? Oh, the old man. There's some other old man. This is another person who's observing. I see, I see. But fate is not so kind. Time has taken its toll on him. His preparations took longer, far longer, than anticipated, and so he's been forced to watch, helpless as the bodies pile even higher. And now a new body will be added to the stack. The young inspector, the first person to take a stand against the prefect, will die. Her methods were certainly not beyond reproach, but that doesn't change the fact she acted to save the village. And I'm just gonna go over here, right-click, and click the affection meter. There is an affection meter for this character. They are not dying. They are not dying before we have had the opportunity to raise affection above 1 bar. So these two characters are literally the most plot-armored characters in the series right now. Anytime they get a threat, just keep that in mind. Her and the girl who said piss off to the Yakuza are probably the safest people there are. I'm sorry, anyone. I got spoiled by looking at the affection meter, and now you're getting spoiled. Because, you know, I right-clicked when I was quitting the game after the recording. Was like, oh, what's this affection meter? Oh, 2 faces. Well, interesting. Guess they're not dying. So, I got spoiled, you're getting spoiled. Just keep that in mind. Not that I think this character would die in this scene, as it would make basically no sense for this character, who was introduced and is being reintroduced at the start of Chapter 2 to randomly get killed by a mook. Well, she acted to save the village. I mean, she probably acted to carry out her job. And yet, with her death, the village's fate may well be sealed. The old man is hardly versed in the affairs of the outside world, but he's aware his country was defeated in war and is now occupied by a foreign power. Should a member of the occupying army meet an untimely end in this village? While the woman is clearly Yamatoan of stock, there we go, clearly said she's Japanese. Her uniform marks her just as clearly as an officer of GHQ. Wait, is that actually what officers of GHQ look like? Alright. I didn't realize that was a uniform. I thought she was just fucking around, wearing casual clothing. And there's no reason to believe that her superiors will not blame the local population for her death. The prefect must be stopped here and now, and the old man is the only one who must stop him. And yet, she's Yamato but works at GHQ. It doesn't surprise me. We knew she worked for GHQ, and she was speaking with a Japanese accent, so either the voice acting is bad, which isn't a surprise, but she doesn't have blonde hair, so she's probably not Western. As the two things they can do in anime are make British people and make Americans, okay? And she didn't have blonde hair. And she didn't act like she's from, like, the 14th century nobility, so... Okay, maybe 16th century nobility, let's be fair. She's not, like, 16th or 18th century British nobility, so she's clearly not British. Easy way to solve it, right? If they want you to know someone's British, it's always like that in anime. So we kind of knew she was probably Japanese. You might have, at a stretch, she might have been like Chinese or something, but I just like assume she's Japanese unless I'm told otherwise. Yeah. Old man, can you stop him? I don't think so. But what is she gonna do? Say me? Looking back, he sees a life full of regrets. Must he now add one more to the tally here at the end of his days? The dragoon charges, his feet gouging deep craters in the earth. His armor is Kazuuchi, not worthy to be called a Tsurugi, but its power and speed far surpass a mere human's all the same. Simply tracking its movements is impossible, to say nothing of resisting its strike. Stop him, the old man prays. Once, just once, turn his blade. Do for me what I cannot. I'll handle the rest. I'll finish this with my own hand. His prayers are in vain, he knows. There's no one to answer them. Things were not always so. Once there were those who used their might to protect the weak and powerless, or that at least was what men believed, for there were still examples enough to admire, But not anymore. The people have lost their faith, and now when men speak of Musha, it is only with loathing, never hope. The old man's prayers do not reach, and if they did, they'd go unanswered. There are no something crimson fills his sight, as though to blot out the clear blue sky. A spray of blood, perhaps? No. It is massive armor, gleaming blade, force of presence to rouse men's hearts. Its might in humanoid form, a god descended from the heavens, or perhaps a demon crawled up from the pits of hell. What is it? This thing standing before him? It can't be, but there it is. Impossible. Unmistakable.
ちっちゃ。あれ何？
Grandpa, what's that? He knows the answer to his granddaughter's question. He knows what it is that has come like a miracle. He knows in his heart, no, in his blood. The blood of Smiths is speaking to him, telling him the nature of the Crimson Giant. It's a true Tsurugi. A true Musha. Well, this guy's doomed. Chapter 2, The Promised. I gotta say, the first word that comes to mind is end, because I believe it's, what was it? Return to Innistrad, Emrakul, The Promised End? The big, spicy Eldrazi god. This time, events proceeded at a breakneck pace. It didn't start out that way, however. Oh, how did it end? How did it? Immediately after Muramasa appeared outside my cell with news of Ginsego's whereabouts, I contacted the Kamakura police commissioner who made the necessary arrangements. I left the jail not as a prisoner, but as a deputy officer, Minato Kageaki. And as I recall, if anyone's wondering what Emrakul the Promised End does, I believe when you cast, it's a creature, and when you cast it, it generates it. When you attempt to play it, it generates a spell. It generates a trigger that says you control a target opponent during that player's next turn. And then after that turn, they take an extra turn. And I don't remember what else it has. I think it has protection from something. Yeah, Mindslaver, pretty good. Imagine that'd be good in Yu-Gi-Oh! Too, assuming you could get it off. I mean, you need to negate not the card, but the trigger it has. It's cast though, so it's a cast trigger though, so that wouldn't work in Yu-Gi-Oh! Still, the effect's strong, controlling your opponent during their next turn. You're certainly not losing next turn, and they're unless they somehow get rid of all their ways to ruin their own hand and board. You're gonna ruin them. Alright. So, Officer Minato Kageaki. Yep. Muramasa then led me to a small village not far from Kamakura. I've gone through this process several times already, all perfectly ordinary. One of the British Tsurugi look like Baron de Fleur. You mean the French? Can we have a French Tsurugi that looks like Baron de Fleur? In the 30 minutes that passed after reaching the village, however, I made more progress than any previous investigation had seen in 3 days. I can only assume that this village is enclosed in some sort of bubble where time moves faster. So, continuing from our previous chapter, I guess he went back to jail for murder, then immediately asked to be let out to track down Ginsego. And he's making progress. Disturbed by the tense atmosphere shrouding what should have by all accounts been a sleepy little hamlet, I questioned a farmer and learned that a GHQ inspector was present. It seemed as good a lead as any, so I traced the inspector's movements to a half-complete mine on the outskirts of the village, where the first thing I saw were 2 Rokuhara soldiers, moments from executing a miner who'd clearly succumbed to exhaustion. Before I could do anything to stop them, 2 gunshots rang out over the din of the crowd, and the soldiers collapsed, dead where they stood. I looked in the direction from which the shots had come, and there saw a Yamatoan woman in GHQ uniform blowing smoke from the barrel of her rifle. A man who appeared to be the Rokuhara officer in charge then engaged the woman in heated discussion, which came to an abrupt end when he donned his tsurugi and fell upon her in a fit of rage. Okay, so it wasn't clear to me before, but I guess anyone wearing this kind of armor has power armor built into it. At that moment, Muramasa's Kinchojo erupted inside my brain. Kinsego's signature detected. The tsurugi's carrying an egg. Which is how I now find myself leaping into battle without the slightest idea of what's going on. The woman's long hair streams behind her, whipped by the gust of wind preceding the dragoon's sword. In a fraction of a second, that blade will carve her and her elderly companion up like a deranged surgeon's scalpel. The time remaining is so little as to be practically non-existent. Which is to say, more than enough. In less time than it takes for a drill to punch through a sheet of rice paper, I interpose myself between the dragoon and his targets and strike his malice aside. We're starting off with a fight. Will it last long? I mean, he's on a quest to collect the 7 eggs? What's this visual novel about? That's a very good question. So far, it is an alternate history where magical power armor has existed since the dawn of time. The British conquered the world, and we're in Japan where everyone's power armor is samurai themed. And also it's kind of, there's a little bit of edge going on here. We started off with like, you know, generic protagonist story, but the story told us there's no heroes. And then, you know, at the end of that, at the end of the first arc, that he gets killed by his hero, and now we're following the hero guy, the guy he thought of as his hero, who just, you know, killed him for seemingly unknown reasons, whether it be secrecy or something else. We'll find out. Yeah, imagine Code Geass in the 40s with the Shogunate of the Edo period. Yeah. Strangely enough, the empire the empire that conquered Japan, well, mostly hands-off, may or may not care more for the Japanese than the actual Japanese government. We have yet to find that out because we don't have an official source, but it seems at least this person cares slightly more. If for no other reason than killing all your citizens is a massive loss of productivity for very little gain. So, Dragoon and his target, not happening. He's at 40% power, interesting. Just gonna point that out, he started at 40%, not at 100. No one cries out in surprise. He's also got like a different view down here in the bottom right. No one cries out in surprise. The 2 women, still alive thankfully, are unlikely to have registered my movements with their unaugmented senses, and the Dragoon likely believes that his sword has avenged his honor rather than plowed harmlessly into the ground. It'll take them a moment to catch up with reality. I step in with my left leg, determined to wrest even that brief instant from the enemy's grasp. The entire weight of my armored body gathers at the sole of my foot, driving it deep into the hard crust of the mountain. My lower body grips the ground like an iron snake, and with that as my axe as I turn perpendicular to the Rokuhara Musha and drive my elbow into his chest. The force of my blow sends the armored Musha flying, and he bounces off the ground twice like a stone skipping across a pond, coming to rest 10 meters away, where he finally realizes what happened.
Nani?
His response with the typical, "What? Nani?" The impact doesn't appear to have jarred him. He leaps up one smooth motion and stands on steady feet. I hardly expected to defeat a Musha with a single elbow strike, but even so, the speed of his recovery is astonishing. The fruit of rigorous training, no doubt.
武者だとどこの部隊のものだ
Amusha, what unit are you with? I feel his gaze scan my collar plate, searching for rank insignia a shogunate soldier would have here. Needless to say, I do not.
とにかくどけこの村は俺の管轄だどこの武者であれ邪魔立てされる言われはない
Whoever you are, get out of my way. This village is under my jurisdiction. No Musha has the right to interfere.
文句があれば古賀中将閣下に申し立てろ
If you have a complaint, take it up with General Yusa Doshin.
断る今ここでその首をもらう
Not possible. I'll take your life here and now.
反逆か
Treason, is it?
いや軍法上の反逆行為には該当しない六原の指揮系統と自分は無関係だ
Negative. My actions do not qualify as treason under military law. I am not part of Rokuhara's chain of command.
何
Very specific phrasing. What? A few seconds of silence follow while the man considers the implications of a Musha outside Rokuhara control.
では貴様はどこの所属だ進駐軍かあの女と同様売国の輩というわけか
And who are you with? GHQ, I suppose? Are you a traitor to your country like the woman behind you?
一切の所属は持たない
I hold no affiliation. This is not intended as a lie. My status as a deputy police officer is for convenience's sake only and has no official standing. Moreover, I'm hardly worthy to name myself an officer of the law. Rather, I'm quite the
単な
opposite.
る殺し屋とでも思ってもらえれば結構
You could say that killing you is simply my job.
殺し屋
Your job? The Musha scoffs at this.
誰ぞに頼まれて俺を殺しに来たというのかそれは誰だ
So someone hired you,
そ
did
いつは
they?
俺
Who?
の首にいくらの値をつけた
How much is my head worth?
いや
No. My words seem to have misled the
依
man.
頼人はいないし報酬もない
I have no clients and take no payment.
殺し屋ではないのか
You're not a professional killer?
非営利方針を掲げている主な活動
You
の
could consider it a non-profit
一身
venture.
上の都合
I work only for myself.
それは
Then I can practically see the veins bulging on his forehead, even through the thick helmet. The enraged dragoon advances a single step. The man doesn't even have his weapon raised, let alone in two hands. Oh,
た
there
だ
we
の
go.
通り魔というのだタゲ
You're nothing but a common murderer, fool. He steps forward once more, this time leading into an attack. His sword slashes down like a guillotine's blade. Even though I was prepared for the strike, its speed and strength afford me precious little time to evade. I push off with my right foot, hopping backwards and turning my body to the side. I gotta say, I appreciate their music here again. Fitting, but not intrusive. It's like it's not detracting from the scene. It's completely appropriate. Good job again, Demon Muramasa.
なるほど
He has a point. I concede silently as the blade passes millimeters from my armor.
次からはそうなの
That's how I'll introduce myself in the future. My backstep takes me several paces away, and there I face off with the Dragoon anew. His balance undisturbed by the failed attack, he immediately reseats his weapon and prepares for a second charge. Still, I hear frustration in his next words.
近頃の若い奴らは人を愚弄する手口ばかりが達者か情けない話よ俺どもの若い頃は今少し骨があったように思うがな
Young people these days are good for naught but mocking their elders, it seems. Pathetic. In my day, we had more grit. Yeah, I don't think this guy's intended to be put up as like a serious threat, right?
面目ない
I can but apologize. Though mockery wasn't my intent. I mean, he might have been souped up by the egg, but if he doesn't go for the power, grab for the power, he's probably just gonna get played with still. He's like a no-name lieutenant.
年長者の若者に対する批判は人類史上普遍だという 甘んじておこ
I'll refrain from argument. They say criticizing one's juniors has been common across cultures throughout history.
そうなの？
Really?
う。4000年前のエジプトの壁画にも、最近の若い者は、と書かれていたとか。
There's a 4,000-year-old Egyptian wall painting that simply says, "Kids these days." Well, he said this guy had an egg. I mean, I'm surprised too, since I thought it'd be like one per chapter or something. But I'm pretty sure that's what it said. Let's see if I can find it. Blah 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 blah. Yeah, the Tsurugi is carrying an egg. It says right here, at that moment Muramasa's Kinshoujo erupted inside my brain. Ginsego's signature detected. Tsurugi is carrying an egg. Stated in universe. Not like 2 minutes ago. In universe, that is. Wow. The distance between us is about 5 or 6 meters. Ooh, sounds like someone's a fan of Muramasa. Thanks for the follow, my dude. The distance between us is about 5 or 6 meters. I can't shake a feeling of discomfort at facing another Musha at such close range. Most battles between Musha take place in the sky, and during aerial combat it's extremely rare for an opponent to be so close for so long. He likely feels the same, I predict, as I examine my enemy in detail. His Tsurugi is a Kazuuchi, Type 88, that's standard issue for Navy Dragoons. As is customary for high-ranking officers, he removed the 7.7mm machine gun. A naval officer should have even less experience fighting on solid ground than an army Musha would. His slight shifts in weight are likely as much to allay his unease as they are to gauge timing. In which case,
先手を飛行して上座を取りましょう。
let's take initiative and get above him.
いいな。
Yeah. The same course of action occurred to me too, but I rejected with a quick shake of my head. In Musha combat, it is of course greatly advantageous to be the first in the air, however,
相手が飛ぶのを待つ。
we'll wait for him to fly.
なぜ？
Why?
俺が先に飛んだ時、後に残すのはこの鉄器だけではない。
If we take to the air now, he won't be the only thing left behind. Muramasa falls silent. She seems to have caught my implication. Switching to flight mode greatly increases the Musha's speed and allows him to take full advantage of his Tsurugi's abilities. The trade-off, however, is that a Musha in the air cannot move with the same precision as a Musha on the ground. Though I take to the air and the enemy follows immediately, all well and good, but I can't discount the possibility he may stay behind to deal with his original targets first. In that case, I doubt I'd be able to deflect his strike a second time. I have no choice but to wait for my opponent to make the first move. I wait, and wait. But the Dragoon doesn't fly. He stays grounded, his Gitari cold and silent. His feet, though somewhat unsure, are clearly awaiting the moment to kick off, but not into the air. They remain rooted to the soil. That's exactly what happened. And yes, this is the censored version, because it's going up on sites that wouldn't appreciate the uncensored version. That said, I also don't know if the censored or uncensored version actually changes anything of value, as of the novels I've read that have censored versions, the censorship didn't really change much of anything. Or wasn't really worth caring about. That said, if it's useful and actually adds some characterization or changes a character's motives, it might be useful. We'll see. Did it just skip the scene in the schoolhouse? Sort of. It went with the quadruple amputation happened. The quadruple amputation happened, and then it kind of just moved on to, what happened after quadruple amputation? Then it just, like, randomly had him cut out, what's-his-face's eyes. And then we moved on from there. Because I think I think there was something that happened between the quadruple amputation and the eye loss, right? It kind of just had our Yuhi reacting, being like, oh man, something's missing. But Yuhi's like the worst person to react to horrifying stuff, because he's kind of just like really unclear on what happens for like 2 minutes. Until well after you've acknowledged what happens and you're just waiting for his brain to catch up. To be honest, they don't have add any value to the story. Alright then. Yeah, Tadayasu. Yeah, as I was saying, like, I think there's a censored and uncensored version of Stay Night. And we did the uncensored version. Well, the version with the original scenes, I should say. And honestly, most of them were not a good use of time. Not only were they super freaking cringe, but most of them didn't add anything to the story until we were in the last route. And then there was like 2 scenes, and only one of them was even remotely useful. That said, sometimes you just want to know what happens, right? You're like, I want to know what actually happened instead of reading this censored bullshit, which I can totally understand. I can 100% understand preferring to read the uncensored version so you get the author's original vision, which I would also prefer. But I would prefer that, but I don't think the online sites this goes on respect things like the author's vision. I mean, consider this. Like, school teachers in America think that the statue of David is obscene material, okay? You know, that classic statue that fucking everybody knows? Or, like, they probably think the Sistine Chapel's too lewd for them, too. And, they think that stuff's really fucking obscene, so... And that's like classical sculpture and painting, okay? America's got some really, really weird standards for what is appropriate and what's art. And everything on the internet is hosted by America, so you kind of gotta follow their rules, even if they're 100% BS. Unless you want to, like, enjoy it in your own house. And even then, they do have a monopoly on a bunch of other stuff. Like hosting sites for the stuff in general. Yeah, all that guy was... It was just sex with poetic and descriptive dialogue. Yeah, he was more like half-assed philosophy. Lacking in concrete substance. Hey, look, it was like Nihilism 101, okay? It was Nihilism 101. The first day, maybe. So this guy's feet are rooted to the soil. The other ones are more like what you said? Okay. So this guy is probably contemplating he wants to kill the girl and get on with it, which is why he hasn't left the ground. And Muramasa's like, do I just go up and wreck? I can't go up and wreck him because I gotta... What if he goes for her? They're in an impasse for a good minute. Has he mistaken my refusal to fly for a trap, or... Has he read that far ahead? I doubt he's read that far ahead. I'm thinking Muramasa's overestimating this guy. The Type 88's an antiquated design with an emphasis on power and durability. Its speed and agility are merely average, so even if one takes the high ground first, it's unlikely to keep it for long. This is not always the case, of course, but there's no denying the Type 88 is obsolete. It's currently being phased out in favor of the more agile Type 94. If he takes the obvious advantage and flies, he'll almost certainly lose. Best to seek victory on the ground? Is that the conclusion he reached? If so, this opponent's fearsomely clever, doubtless the veteran of many battles. I mustn't give him time. Time always favors the warrior with more experience and the more cards to play. The other must strike quickly before he has a chance to develop a plan. So be it. By your leave. Come. I kick off with my right before lowering my head and bending forward till I can nearly taste the dirt. I hug the ground like an insect, my eyes fixed on the enemy's boots. His towering form blots out the sun, and at that moment I spring up with a rising slash. The dragoon's sword is already there to meet me, slashing down from high above to split my skull in two. As expected. I pull my arms back, turning my rising slash into a lifting sweep. The dragoon's sword meets it with a thunderous clash and is knocked aside. His strike merely grazes my shoulder. Thus the enemy's side is laid bare. Yoshino Onryu Kasenraiho Tagai. Trick the enemy into striking at your head, deflect his blade, and exploit the opening. A turn of my wrists, and then my sword will cleave into his unprotected abdomen.
まずまずの建前だが足りんわ
A decent showing, but not enough. Rather than lay the enemy's belly open, my sword's been stopped by his own. His reaction was too fast. No level of skill or reflex should allow a man to recover from a failed strike this quickly. Not if he was committed to it. Even for a Musha, it's unthinkable, which can only mean
読み合いで上を行かれた。
he was a step ahead.
そのようだ
So it would seem. I replayed the last exchange in my head, while his strike itself was sharp and swift. The impact preceding his sword's deflection did seem strangely light. Did he see through my ploy and relax his arms to prepare for the rapid alteration of my strike's trajectory? Well, that would explain it.
貴様従軍経験はあるか
You, sir.
先の大戦にて2年ほどフィリピンの密林で村田銃を抱えて過ごした
During the war, I spent 2 years in the Philippine jungles with the Marauder rifle. Does that count? I think it counts.
俺が最前線にいた時間はその6倍だ若造二等兵貴様が放たれの頃から大陸を転戦して磨いた我が剣
I mean,
見くびってほしくはないな
he's receiving passive buffs from the egg, right? So presumably, maybe the egg is buffing his reflexes and predictive abilities. We have to assume there's passives at play here. Either he's just flat out more durable, or there's something else at play, right? Maybe the different pieces of his sword give different passives, or the passives change to match what the user expects or feels is their strength. I don't know. Maybe it depends on the armor, depends on what the silver mecha wanted. Who knows? I spent 6 times that on the front lines. I was polishing my technique on the continent while you were still in diapers. You do well not to underestimate me, whelp. Oh, for what it's worth, even the uncensored version of the schoolhouse scene is censored. The limb chop scene only has art in the Muramasa demo, and it wasn't included in the full release. Interesting. Well, I understand that. There's actually no actual bloodshed so far. Like, none of the mechs receive damage. I know they change the visuals all the time, and the mech combat has like 20 scenes in it. With like them moving up, down, left, right, all that stuff. Like, they do a good job with that, but there's actually no damage shown anywhere. Even on the robots, there's no chipping or anything. And they haven't really gone for showing like crazy scenes. They've stuck to like their mech combat with simple poses. And they haven't done any glory shots, I guess it would be, right? Which would have been like when he gets stabbed in the foot, or when when the limbs get chopped off. Like, they didn't show us any of those like big splash pages where you're just like, oh, and like you only see like, it's like what's a good example? When you see like the bodies in Umineko or something. Like that spicy scene where you're just like, oh yeah, they're dead. They're super dead. Oh my god, they're dead! And you get, then that's when you see like, you know, the big full screen image. They aren't really doing that here. So, I wouldn't be surprised if they cut it for most things. Alright, we're not gonna underestimate you.
以後は心する
Understood. I'll take care in the future. Our locked swords squeal in protest, shedding bright silver flakes as folded steel shaves away beneath the stress. The pressure against my sword is unbelievable. I can hear the bones in my arms creaking as I fight to push my enemy back. His power can't be explained by the Type 88 specs alone. The pilot's own strength must be Herculean. This guy's a strong guy, alright. It can't be all. Is there something else at work here?
一つ尋ねる。
A question.
なんだ
What is it?
銀星号を知っているか
Do you know Ginsego? I gauge his reaction. Though his expression is hidden beneath his helmet, at this range it's easy to sense an enemy's emotions.
銀星号最近富に噂の殺戮魔とやらか
Ginsego?
どう
That
せ
angel
風
of
評が
slaughter
一人歩
everyone's
きし
talking
た
about?
類であろうが
A fine example of rumors growing legs, if you ask me.
あれがどうしたという
What about it? My question was pointless. The man's voice bears no trace of deceit. He has an egg, yet knows nothing about it or its origin. This isn't without precedent, however. She probably saw no need to appear before him. In which case, this train of thought is merely a distraction, and I abandon it and concentrate on defeating my opponent. A prospect that is proving more difficult than I had hoped. I should have the advantage in a contest of strength. Muramasa possesses sufficient power to wield effortlessly its massive Nodachi, currently missing. Yet I'm finding it difficult to overpower this enemy. The struggle continues, and with the advantage shifting back and forth every
拉
second.
致がわかん開けられん
This isn't working. It's taking too long.
けれどミド、引いてはダメ。
Retreat, Mito.
分かっている
I'm away. If I pull back, I'm dead. Before I can even think about doing something fancy, like leaping back and striking in one motion, the enemy will power through my defense and claim my life. Of course, the same is true for the enemy. At the moment, neither of us has the option of retreat. There's no choice but to advance, planting my feet and pushing with all my strength. I expect his sword to return the favor, echoing my strength like a shout in a cathedral. However, my blade meets no resistance and instead pushes through the enemy's guard. This guy has some cunning, so I'd be very concerned, but it's pretty hard to react when you're in a sword fight in real time. So, careful thought is probably not something you have time for when something unexpected happens.
引いた
He pulled back. I have him? Unlikely. For an instant, I'm dumbfounded by this stroke of luck. It proves an instant too long. Something slides into the space between my arms like a striking snake. The hilt of the dragoon's sword. With only his right hand on the hilt, he thrusts it smoothly into the opening, and then his left hand returns to take the grip from beneath. Arm in arm, sword in sword, joined like two hooks. What does this mean? What does this shape portend?
些細な手妻だがこんなものが役立つこともある
Nothing too fancy, but techniques like this can prove useful on occasion. Dragoon turns his sword, catching my arms against the hilt, and then twists.
腕絡み？
An arm lock? Yep. Arm lock by sword? My wrist and elbows cry out in pain, sending jolts of lightning straight up my spine. Muramasa's armor is powerless against this attack, and I can feel muscles warping and bones bending. My arms are moments away from breaking. There's no choice. I let go of my sword and leap to the rear, and the result is exactly as expected.
引いたな樹脂
So you run, Nath. Not about to waste this opportunity, the Rokuhara Musha instantly steps in to retake the distance I gained. At the same time, he forces his blade toward my neck. I barely managed to seize his arms in time, but the effort cost me my balance. His eyes look down, burning with triumph, and I grit my teeth, matching his stare. He has me in the mount position, his whole weight bearing down on his sword, aiming for the base of my neck, the gap where helmet meets shoulder plate. I push back against his arms, but this position affords him too great of an advantage.
さて
Well,
生意気な若造もこうなれば少しは素直になれよ
maybe now you'll answer my
もう
questions
一度
instead of
と
giving me lip.
貴
I'll ask
様
one
は
more time.
何者だ
Who are you?
すでに言った通りその命をもらい受けに参った者
As I said before, as someone who wishes to take your life.
理由は
Why?
一心上の都合。
Because my needs demand it.
そうか。
I see. I feel the ice-cold sensation of his blade slicing through skin.
筋金入りのバカ者にはもう少し荒領事がいるということらしいな。貴様の意地が切れるのが先か、
It's
それ
like
と
it'll
も
take
首が切れ
drastic
るのが先
measures,
か。
cure you of your
試してくれるぞ。
stupidity. Which will give out first, your courage or your strength? Let's see, shall we? Only a millimeter or two of steel has entered my flesh so far, but the terrible cold of it spreads quickly through my body. I'll be frozen solid by the time its depth reaches 1 centimeter. So you're about 1/10 of the way to dying and losing progress. If only you had power over magnetic fields or something. Wouldn't that be handy? I'm unlikely to feel it by then, however. Survival will be difficult with the centimeter-deep gash in my
こ
throat.
の尋問法には問題がある。
I've identified a flaw in his plan.
どんな？
Which is?
口が聞けないではないか。
I can't answer his question like this.
そうね。あなたが死ぬ前に向こうが気づいてくれるといいのだけれど。どうするの？人間の英知に期待をかけて。
Let's
こ
hope
の
he
まま
realizes
ま
that
な
before
板
you
の声の
die.
真似事を
Well,
続けてみる？
are you gonna bet on his intelligence and keep lying there like a fish on the block? I don't know. It seems like a productive strategy for someone.
他人を愚かと思い込む者は低能だが、他人の賢さを信じ込む者は無能だという。
Let's
やめ
not.
ておこ
He who assumes others foolish is a half-wit, but he who bets on others' wisdom is a
う。
buffoon.
コイルを回せ。しのぎで抜ける。
Spin of your coils will escape with Shinogi.
この状況よ。
From here? Are you crazy?
一応そのつもりだ。従え、村正。
Not that I'm aware. Obey, Muramasa. There's no time for discussion.
了解。
Understood. I exhale long and slow, forcing down the anxiety that comes with hostile steel at my throat. I'm breathing too hard, and his blade could end my life. That's how close I am to death. As my breath expires, I relax my arms. The strength in my arms is the only thing holding back the enemy's sword, the last bulwark of a failing fortress, and now I abandon it without the slightest hesitation. Sweet temptation and black terror threaten to reduce my brain to jelly. I'm a tightrope walker, balancing 1 foot above a bottomless pit. Alright, let's see how this goes. I suppose Muramasa can't be blamed for doubting my sanity. My soft neck is now defenseless. Even a child could slay me with little trouble. The Musha, however, hesitates, precisely the reaction I expected from a veteran. He knows too much of war to leap hungrily upon every piece of meat tossed before his eyes. I'm granted a split second in which to act, and should I fail to do so, then I deserve to die. I inhale sharp and fast. I don't need much air. Half a liter will do. I swallow the oxygen, pressing it down into the pit of my stomach where it churns and grows in intensity. I seize it, bind it, and mold it to my will. The small storm of power struggles to break free, but I keep it pinned even as I coax it into a frenzy. It howls and expands, seeking more power, but I keep tight rein on its fury. The storm becomes a typhoon, and the typhoon a hurricane. As the torrent of power threatens to snap its chains and consume me, I impose upon it my final command. I direct a single strand that escaped its prison into my arms, and from there, into the arms of my enemy.
イン。
よ。
Yang. I let go of the reins, setting the power free at last. It roars in ecstasy as it courses through my body, raging and gloating and bursting from every pore. Its imprisonment is over. Freedom.
エンチャント。マイナス。
Enchant minus.
流れ。変える。
I part the flows. How much power does that cost? How much power does that cost? Since that was indeed a power meter at the bottom. The Rokuhara Musha is blasted off of me, clearing several meters in the blink of an eye. To an observer, it would appear as though the supine Muramasa sent the Dragoon flying with a single kick. An utterly ridiculous scene considering the weight of the Dragoon and his position. There should be no way for such a thing to occur. This madness is the product of Muramasa's shinogi. First I placed a magnetic charge on the enemy's armor and then kicked him in the chest, with the leg carrying the identical and therefore repulsive charge. Magnets. Magnets, bitch! Does the Rokuhara officer understand what happened? Unfortunately, I have no time to ask. I'm aware my attack has not damaged the enemy significantly, and in order to claim victory, I must exploit his moment of vulnerability. Muramasa's EM field won't last long. The Shinogi is meant to be used in short bursts, and maintaining it for longer than a second puts a severe burden on my caloric reserves. Once dispelled, however, it requires the entire breathing cycle to restore. I could take this time to regroup, but even then I would still be at a disadvantage. The wound to my neck is not shallow. Blood is leaking out even now, and with it, the body heat that I need to operate Muramasa. This moment is my only chance for victory. I charge. Dragoon is already starting to rise, undamaged as I thought. My kick only sent him tumbling. I step in before he can fully right himself, and there's no time to recover my sword, so I strike with the only weapon available, my body. Once again, the Type 88 goes flying, soaring into the air like a puppy struck by a speeding car. And yet the enemy still maintains his grip on his sword. He must have been prepared for the second impact. I've dealt no damage, nor have I succeeded in disarming my opponent. My heat levels are at their limit, forcing me to dispel the magnetic field. If I attempt to erect it again, I will almost certainly succumb to freeze. Cold is quickly stealing through my body, and my fingertips are growing numb. My attempt to reverse the situation ends here, with the enemy undamaged and myself on the brink of losing function. All that's left is the conclusion.
Mido!
With the last of my strength, I kick off into the air. The conclusion is mine to write. What? The Rokuhara warrior's cry of rage and dismay echoes across the sky. My attempt has succeeded, the situation reversed. Even as the enemy ignites his engine, he knows he's lost. The Dragoon chose not to fly because he knew I would be victorious in an aerial confrontation. In which case, all I had to do was force him into the air. Feeding my last remaining energy— oh, we are really low. Energy into the guitar at my back, I soar into the air and climb for altitude. Is that like, what, 10%? The enemy does the same, but I'm faster, and I take the high ground, turn, and dive. The Type 88 has, in fact, not even begun to climb. It looks like he's having trouble acquiring stability after the unexpected toss into the sky. He's a sitting duck, primed for slaughter. I still have no sword, so my fist will have to suffice, and that narrows it down to one viable target. I take the enemy's back and dive my fist into the armor of his waist. We are down to like 5% or less. The Musha spirals out of control and does not regain it. The armor around the waist is where Tsurugi's wings or horo are attached, and without them the roaring of one's guitar is nothing but noise. And my punch has destroyed more than half the Dragoon's horo. But the remaining horo still serves some function. The Musha glides more than plummets from the sky, vanishing into the forest. Below, too quickly for a perfect landing, but too slowly to be called a crash. He won't die from that. I'll have to find him and finish him.
Muramasa, 敵機を捕捉しろ。
Locate the enemy, Muramasa. We're pursuing.
無理よ
We can't.
何？
What?
熱量が限界に達している。これ以上の気候は危険。戦闘は論外。
The reserves are at their limit. Even flying is dangerous. Combat's out of the question. Taking stock of my condition, I realize I'm indeed in no shape to fight. The numbness in my fingers is nearing total paralysis, and the cold filling my body has grown to match. As long as I maintain flight, my condition will continue to decay. I have no choice but to withdraw.
仕留め損ねたか。
So I failed to finish him.
今回は仕方ないでしょ
Not your
何
fault.
分にも急なことだったし。
Everything happened so fast.
その急に対応しきれていれば、最小限の時間で事態の解決が果たされていた。いつ
If
も
I
の
had
こ
handled
と
the
だ。
situation correctly,
我
this
が
mission
無
would be
能が悔
complete.
やまれる。
As always, I have only my own incompetence to blame.
戻ろう、
That's
村
true.
正。体調を回復させ、しかる後、樹海を探索する。
After I recover my strength, we'll search the forest for the enemy.
了解。
Understood.
お嬢様。
Mistress?
赤い武者。
A red Musha? Well. We're low on juice. That'll take a while to recover. It all started when that man returned to the village after his long absence, bringing with him the authority of a Rokuhara prefect. It was strange a prefect would be assigned to a tiny village like this, and we were worried what would come of it. At first, we also took some small comfort in the fact that this was his home. Surely he would only consider our interests. But that turned out to be a hasty assumption indeed. The moment Nagasaka arrived with his men, he gathered the villagers and declared he would mine the mountain. That's right. The mountain's always been said to hide great treasures ever since a hunter found a precious stone there in Tokugawa's day. So, like, a couple centuries ago? The villagers back then were overjoyed, and it said they immediately hired mining experts preparing to dig, but the Emishi tribesmen who lived on the mountain appeared before them and implored them to stop. According to the Emishi, the stone the hunter found belonged to Konjin, god of metal, and to dig for it would invite the god's wrath. The villagers had never heard of Konjin, so they ignored the Emishi and started digging. It had always been a poor village, so you can understand the excitement. And then God's wrath fell. It was terrifying if you believe the stories. Just as the villagers were about to hit the vein, a blinding light surged from the mountain and swept across the area like a living storm. Everyone who the light touched turned to stone, salt, or rusted. It changes with the storyteller. What the records do show for certain is that many people died that day. In a panic, the villagers went to the Emishi chieftain and begged him to save them from the curse. It was selfish, after spurning the Emishi's warnings, but the Emishi did as they were asked, without a word of complaint. They placed an ancient clan treasure in the deepest part of the mine as a barrier against the god's power and collapsed the tunnel for good measure. It worked, as the curse never struck again. But the villagers were still afraid, so they built a shrine on the mountain to appease Konjin, even giving it to the Emishi's keeping. They still present offerings there, though the shrine is in disrepair and few Emishi remain. Anyway, now you know the history of the mountain. And Nagasaka intended to break the taboo. Digging a new tunnel would cost too much time and money, so he came up with the idea to reuse the original mine from the records. We objected. Not that all of us believe in the curse. It's an old story, and it's hard to say how much is true. Still, even if the mine were completed without inviting disaster, what then? All we would look forward to was harsh back-breaking labor. We knew there was no chance we would see any of the profit. And if the legends were true, then the village would be destroyed. Either way, it could only end badly for us. Our protests were answered with drawn blades. I have no idea why he's so obsessed with the mine, but he executed everyone who spoke against him, even the previous mayor. Yes, that was my older brother. I was just a storekeeper at the time. Once they threatened our lives, we had no choice. There weren't many soldiers with the prefect, but he brought a few strange warriors with him, mercenaries perhaps, and they were frightfully strong. We obeyed and started digging. Work was cruel and they gave us no rest. Many died from exhaustion or were executed as examples to the rest. Death if we resisted, death if we obeyed. The village was doomed. By that damn mine, at least. It proceeded according to schedule without incident, as though the Konjin approved of what Nagasaka was doing. I know I'm not the only one who wet his pillow with tears of dismay. We were at our wits' end, and then you came, Madam Inspector. The mayor's house is fairly large, with enough space in the guest room to hold a sumo match. I surmise this is less due to the owner's wealth than an overabundance of land. The room is not dirty, of course, but the furnishings are fairly Spartan. Considering that this house has been home to many generations of mayors, its emptiness is clear as any a sign of this village's poverty. The mayor itself seems uneasy, perhaps ashamed by the state of his house. I happen to find such austerity appealing, but he is unlikely to take that as a compliment, when said austerity was not his choice. Besides, if he's truly ill at ease, it's probably for a different reason, though the presence of a complete stranger myself is likely a factor as well. The mayor's gaze has been fixed on his other guest since the conversation began. She is a beautiful woman, or a young woman for whom beautiful is entirely appropriate description. Her long, shining hair is especially impressive. Yeah, I'm go with that. Yeah, hair. That's the most impressive thing about her. Her hair. Yeah, sure. That hair. The delicate way she sips her tea and the easy smile resting on her lips suggest high breeding, an impression strengthened by the elderly woman standing behind her with an invisible sign reading maidservant around her neck. She's the spitting image of a sheltered lady, or would be if not for a rather conspicuous flaw. Or, well, perhaps flaw is not the right word. It does nothing to mar her appearance. The uniform suits her quite well, in fact, and that is the problem. Though not as bulky as medieval armor, modern military uniforms remain coarse, utilitarian, and a portent of evil luck. Yet it suits the image of feminine beauty perfectly. How can this be? There's nothing unusual about the uniform itself. Of course. It's she who suits the uniform and not the other way around. The aura of blood and steel was hers all along. Ah yes, the aura of blood and steel. That must be it. However she may appear, this woman is a soldier to the core. The mayor was present at the mine, and he witnessed her kill 2 men without batting an eyelash, so he cannot now have mistaken her for a noble woman in disguise. If that is not the source of his discomfort, then the only possibility is that he is troubled by what the uniform itself represents. The League of Nations Allied Expeditionary Force, Yamato Garrison General Headquarters, aka GHQ. He wears the uniform of the foreign army that just 6 years ago was our country's mortal enemy, and now maintains an occupying force right on our doorstep. It's they who allow the Rokuhara to rule Yamato, and they who sit silently while the country is raped and pillaged. You could plumb the depths of the Ogasawara Trench and not find a single reason to appreciate their presence. Moreover, the woman's features are clearly Yamato, and Kisling and traitor are the only 2 words that come to mind. I was sitting there trying to grasp what Kisling is supposed to mean instead of reading the sentence. Alright, but while such a turncoat would normally expect to encounter loathing and suspicion, in some strange twist of fate, she's also the person who risked her life in the villagers' defense. The mayor can hardly be blamed for not knowing what to say. It falls to me to break the ice, and I decide, though I haven't the slightest idea of how to begin.
Muramasa.
Muramasa, I whisper in the back of my throat. Once Master and Tsurugi have completed the Tatewaki Nogi, or rite of joining, even a voiceless whisper such as this will reach the other over any distance. Muramasa's response comes immediately.
何
Yes.
会話に詰まった。客の礼儀として何か言おうと思うのだが、どうすればいいと。
He's asking for advice from his armor on how to talk to people. Oh god. He's so clueless. He's so clueless, he makes me look like an expert. The conversation had stopped. As a guest, it is proper courtesy for me to offer a new topic. What should I do?
それは
Isn't it customary to start with the weather?
時効の挨拶なんかが定番じゃないのかしら。
なるほど。
I see. I execute the plan forthwith.
良い日和ですね。
A fine day, isn't it?
はあ。
Yes. Awkward
他
silence.
には
Anything else?
そうね。
How about a
小
witty
粋
joke?
なジョークとか。
分かった。
Understood. Oh no. Execute.
大阪城を建てたのは
Who
誰だ
built
か知ってい
Osaka
ますか。
Castle?
大工。
Carpenters. An impasse.
他には
Anything
ごめ
else?
んなさい。お願いもう聞かないで。私、なんだかだんだんと自分がとてつもなく罪深いことをしているような気になってきて
I'm
仕方が
sorry.
ないの。
Please stop asking me. I'm starting to feel like I'm taking part in something truly reprehensible. Muramasa is just like, this guy is so cringe. Please stop asking me for help in social situations.
そうか。
Alright. Fortunately, my assistance is no longer needed. The woman has set her cup down and looks about to speak. It would seem her silence was merely so she could finish her tea. First, she addresses her companion.
おおむね事前調査の通りですね。
The story fits with our preliminary investigation.
はい。
Indeed. The old woman replies with a nod. In other words, her actions at the mine, which seemed awfully sudden to me, and no doubt everyone else present, were taken with prior knowledge of the situation. Of course. It doesn't change the fact that attacking a unit of Rokuhara officers, including a dragoon with a single rifle, was as reckless an act as I have ever witnessed. I doubt I'll have a handle on this woman anytime soon, if ever. Next, she turns her thin, unreadable gaze upon me.
次はそちら様のお話を伺わせていただきたいのですけれど。
And now I'd like to hear your story, if possible.
ごもっともです。
Of course. I can hardly expect her to ignore a Musha who appeared out of nowhere.
その前に遅ればせながらお礼を申し上げます。
But why?
宣告は
She says.
危ないところをありがとうございました。
She says, but first allow me to thank you for saving us from certain death back there. And it's like, why did you YOLO your life if you weren't expecting us to be around? You knew there was a dragoon there, but you still went in with a rifle?
私めからも感謝申し上げます。卒じながらあなた様のお名前は。
If we might have your name. How to answer. I shouldn't divulge my identity to just anyone. Can these two be trusted? Well, that's an interesting one. Good thing quick... We have quick save, but not oh, we do have a save load. Holy crap. Okay. Save button. A proper save. I didn't realize we had saves other than quick save. I just assumed this is a quick save game. Alright. The real life Shinogi. Okay. Do we want to trust these people? I mean, not trusting anyone seems like the plan. This series certainly is edgy enough for that. And saying they can might really backfire. I'm curious if one of these leads to death or this actually splits the route. That's my thought. I'm like, does this matter? Is this irrelevant? I wonder if there's whatever. We can just go with whatever. Okay, do we want to trust them or not? I feel like they haven't extended trust, but this character seems to be fairly free with information. I think our character would kind of be generous. It seems like our protagonist, our current protagonist, is the kind who's free with information when there's something that might be gained. So I'm gonna go with they can. He's also kind of clueless, so he's a little too clueless and is suspicious. Let's see, give him his name. Like he gave presumably his real name to Yuhi and then murdered him. And he presumably gave his real name to random-ass thugs, so probably fine, especially because one of the guys had ties at GHQ. I think his name is fine. Because remember, he knew one of the guys had ties with GHQ and was fine with giving his real name. So in this scenario, we'd probably do the same thing. Although in this case, he might be more suspicious. I don't know, we'll see. My heart tells me they can. Logic, of course, tells me I know far too little about them. However, I can't deny that my first impression is favorable. I know it's risky to choose emotion over reason, but fortunately I'm spared from making that choice. My analysis concluded to lie now would likely cause trouble down the line. That aside, it is dangerous to develop affection for her, and I must take care. My affection meter for her went up? What? What? Okay.
鎌倉警察署の港影明です。先ほどの行為は一身上の都合による振る舞い。差し出た真似とお咎めなくば頂上。感謝などしていただくには及びません。
So now she can die, according to you? True, it's possible for her to die now. There has now been an opportunity for us to gain affection with her. So, Minato Kageaki of the Kamakura Police Department, which is exactly how he introduces himself to literally every person he comes across. See? I acted for purely selfish reasons, so there's no need to thank me. It's more than enough that you have not blamed me for interfering in your affairs.
あら、そんなご謙遜はなさらないで。命を救っておきながら感謝はするななんて、それでは私、恩知らずの恥知らず者になるしかありませんもの。ね、バーヤ?
Please don't be so modest. If you don't let me thank you for saving my life, that makes me an ingrate. Right, right side?
はい、全くでございます。
Quite right,
港
mistress.
様、体温ある方とはいえ、お嬢様を防音無知の輩に貶めるがごときは、どうかご遠慮願わしゅう存じます。
Quite right, mistress. I know we owe you a great debt, sir, but I must ask that you refrain from forcing my mistress to bear such shame.
そのようなつもりは決して。しかし、無礼を申しました。
That was not my intent. However, your point is well taken. I apologize for my rudeness. Yes, I suppose that's how she would see it. I have some doubt as to whether she even needed my assistance, and judging by her confidence during the confrontation, it seems safe to assume she had some plan for handling the Dragoon and his men. Even so, I can understand how someone who values courtesy would be ashamed to dismiss help given freely as unnecessary. Were I in her position, I would likely feel the same. I bow in apology, and seeing this, the women look at each other and laugh softly. Is my conduct amusing in some way? In my humble opinion, this woman who saved the village from Rokuhara's violence has absolutely no reason whatsoever to thank me, but... Of course, she has no way of knowing that.
あら、いけない。申し遅れました。GHQ 民生局の大鳥かなえです。恩人に先に名乗らせてしまって、こちらこそ無礼をお詫びしなくてはなりませんね。
I am Otori Kanae. With the GHQ Civil Affairs Bureau, it is I who must apologize for forcing my savior to introduce himself first.
ああ、これはさよがうっかりしておりました。村長殿にはすでに挨拶を済ませていたもので、どうかお許しを港
It
様。
is entirely my fault.
私めはかなえの侍従長倉でございます。
It's entirely my fault. We'd already introduced ourselves to the mayor, so I thought, please forgive me, I'm Nagakura Sayo, Miss Kanae's humble
ご
servant.
丁寧に。大鳥注意殿。
A pleasure to meet you, Lieutenant Otori and Miss Nagakura. I bow once to each woman. The lieutenant's rank I gleaned from a look at her collar.
しかし、
Otori.
大鳥
Not a name you often hear in casual conversation, however, it would be unwise to pursue the obvious suspicion, and I decide to let it pass for now.
港様は警察の方なのですね。
So you're a police officer?
はい。
Yes, though
司祭あって公式の身分は持ちませんが、
for various reasons, I do not hold official status.
あら、やっぱりそうなんですの？過分ながら警察局に武者を要する部門があるとは耳にしたことがなくて、そのあたり詳しくお尋ねしては失礼ですかしら。
Oh, so I was right? I thought that might be the case, since I've never heard of the police help keeping Musha on call. Not that I'm an expert on such matters. Would it be rude of me to inquire further?
至極当然の疑問と存じます。しかし、ご遠慮いただければ幸いです。
It is a perfectly reasonable line of inquiry, however, your restraint would be greatly appreciated. Like, you can ask if you'd like, but I'd appreciate if you didn't.
ヤマトの武者は、なべて六原の指揮下に。どうか、そういうことにしておいていただきたく。いろいろと触りがありますゆえ。
There are no Yamato and Musha outside of Rokuhara's command. Please leave it at that, otherwise I may encounter significant difficulties while carrying out my mission. It might have been easier to keep my police ties a secret. Either way, though, I have to identify myself as an officer during my investigation, or no one will cooperate with someone who's a complete stranger. Of course, we'll get back to the lieutenant once I do. Identifying myself is the best way to avoid courting needless suspicion. For the same reason, I must be honest about what I can and cannot reveal. If that earns me her disapproval, so be it.
お嬢様。
Mister.
承知いたしました。ぶしつけな質問をお許しくださいまし。先ほどこの村で武者同士の戦闘がありました。
I understand.
しかし、
Please forgive my
あなたとは
thoughtless
無
question.
関係。
There was a battle between two Musha in this village, but you were not involved.
それでよろしくて。
Will that do?
はい。ご配慮に感謝します。
Thank you for your consideration. Lieutenant Otori does not seem offended by my reticence, at least on the surface, though the look Miss Nagakura gives me is sharper than before.
鎌倉署から来られたということですけれど、この村の駐在の方ではありませんのね。
You said you're from the Kamakura department, so you're not stationed in this village?
はい。
Correct.
ここへは捜査のため参りました。
I'm here to conduct an
そ
investigation.
れもお尋ねしない方がよろしいかしら。
Should I refrain from asking about that too?
いえ、こちらは差し支えありません。
No, this presents no difficulties. It could be troublesome if it starts getting around, but I don't think I have to worry about that with her.
自分の任務は銀星号事件の捜査です。
My mission is to locate and stop Kinsego.
は何ですと
Kinsego? Shut up, Mayor. You're probably gonna die at some point.
銀星号。銀星号。さよ、それは確か。
Kinsego? The Silver Star? Sayo, is that?
はい。近年関東を中心に大活躍中と聞く無差別殺戮犯のことかと。
Yes, I believe that's what they call the Musha, whose indiscriminate massacres have terrorized Kanto of late.
そうよね。あらまあ、
Yes, of
それ
course.
は大変な。
Oh my, how terrifying. GHQ Pear's reaction seems a little flat, especially in contrast to the mayor who is staring at me in shock. Considering Ginsego's reputation, one can say that the mayor's reaction is more natural. The two women may just have nerves of steel, or perhaps they were gone from Yamato until recently. It wouldn't be surprising given their affiliation.
なるほど。それで剣。失礼を。
Ah, so that's why you have a Tsurugi... pardon me.
ではまさかあのお代官長坂大尉がその銀星号の正体なのですか？
The prefect? Captain Nagasaka is Ginsego? That's difficult to believe.
それは違います。しかし彼には銀星号と接触を持ち、ある種の協力関係を取り結んだ権威があ
He
る
is
ので
not,
す。
however, I suspect he's
そのた
entered
め
into
制圧を試みました。
some sort of partnership with Ginsego, and that's why I attempted to neutralize him.
不覚にも逃走を許してしまいましたが、後ほど追跡を行うつもりです。
I failed to prevent his escape, but I intend to begin my pursuit shortly.
はあ、そういうことですの。
Lieutenant Otori falls silent and lowers her gaze. Her companion, too, appears to be digesting my explanation. I can tell the mayor has many questions of his own, but he refrains for now, probably understanding that I don't mean Ginsego is about to appear in his village right this moment. I'm grateful for this, as any further questions would be difficult to answer.
おおむね了解いたしました、港様。私も許される範囲で協力させていただきます。
I believe I understand your position, if you'll allow. I would like to be of assistance, however I may.
ありがたきご好意、感謝に耐えません。
Thank you for the offer. I'm in your debt. That said, I'd prefer to finish this mission without requesting her aid. Her soft, pink lips curve into a smile. She must have discerned my reluctance.
どうか遠慮はなさらないでくださいましね。
Don't
私
hesitate
の
to
職
ask.
務にも関わることですから。
It concerns my duties as well.
失礼、注意殿。あなたの職務をお伺いします。
If I may, Lieutenant, I'd like to know what those duties entail.
先ほどの私とお代官のやりとりはお聞きになりませんでした？
Were you not listening to my conversation with the prefect?
近くにはおりましたが、詳しくは。
I was nearby, but I didn't catch all the details.
私は民政局から巡察官としてこの村に派遣されたものですの。人々の生活の実情を把握し、問題があれば改善に努めるのが職務になります。
I was sent by Civil Affairs to inspect this village. My duties are to ascertain the condition and treatment of Yamato's civilians, and take measures to correct any problems that I find.
巡察官。
An inspector. I've heard of this system, and the lieutenant's execution of those Rokuhara soldiers would seem to conform to this stated purpose. However,
率直な物言いをお許しいただければ、
if I might be permitted a blunt
どう
opinion...
ぞ。
Oh, please.
その制度が実効的に機能しているとは思いませんでした。単に対面を保つ都合上、設置してあるだけのものかと。
I did not believe that system to be functional. It's my understanding it exists simply to lend credence to the GHQ's claim of protecting Yamatoan interests, and holds no real power.
あら、本当に率直な。でもそれはお互い様ではなくて、おまわりさん。
Oh my, very blunt indeed, but couldn't the same be said of you, officer?
確かに。
An excellent point. These days, failure is a perfectly acceptable synonym for police officer, or do I have that backwards? An officer actively working to put an end to the Ginsego massacres must seem very strange indeed.
何もしない、何も見ない、何も聞かない。それが巡察官の慣行かもしれませんが、何もするなとは指示されていませんもの。何かしても咎められる筋合いはなし。
See nothing, hear nothing, do nothing. That may be how most inspectors conduct themselves, but I haven't been ordered not to take action. No one can fault me for carrying out my mission. It is a wonder that this government even functions at all. But I suppose, given the level of corruption, it's a wonder that the government functions at all in wartime. But I suppose, given that they don't actually need a real army to win, they just need the most Musha, because they're the only thing that can deal with more of them in this setting. Then once you get the ball rolling and have the most, you just win by default, right? As the only thing that counters Tsurugi is more and better Tsurugi. And if you conquer a country, then you get all of theirs, making yourself more powerful until you're the biggest, in which point There's no way you would ever be stopped. Because there's no answer to them. Yeah, okay. There's no answer and there hasn't been an answer for literal millennia. So, yeah, I can see that leading to a world government pretty quickly. Even if it was rife with corruption and inefficient as all hell, as long as they have the numbers of OP Tsurugi, it doesn't really matter, right?
ね、さよ。
Right, Saya?
はい。
Right, mistress. I see. It would appear that Lieutenant Otori has a bit of a rebellious streak, or rather, some other sort of streak.
とはいえ、私の活動が司令部に知られれば、すぐに召喚されてしまうでしょう。その後で、あのお代官様が戻ってくれば、村は結局元通り。
That said, I will certainly be recalled as soon as my superiors learn what I've done. If the prefect returns after my departure, then the village is back to square one.
そういえば大官の部下は
Speaking of which, what's been done with the prefects, man?
武装解除の上で監禁しております。あの連中を応殺してしまえば多少代官殿もやりにくくなるでしょうけれどもね。
We've stripped them of their weapons and locked them in a vacant house. Personally, I think simply slaughtering them would throw a wrench in the prefect's plan.
現行犯でないと処刑は難しくてよ、バーヤ。と言って、監獄に送りつけても、一泊二日で帰ってくるでしょうし。
It's difficult to justify executing prisoners, Saya. Still, if we send them off to jail, they'll just be back in a day or two.
事故はいかがでございましょう。
About an unfortunate accident.
監禁していた家屋が不幸な火災で、責任問題が村に行き着く可能性を考えると、どうかしら。
The house catching fire, for instance? I'm worried the Rokuhara will blame the village.
空から隕石が降ってきたのであれば、これはどうにもしようがございますまい。
And no one can hold the villagers responsible for the odd meteor strike, can they?
そうね。
True, true. The conversation has taken a turn for the sinister, judging by their casual tone, though. It's probably just a poor attempt at humor. Probably.
まあ、それはさておいて、こ
Probably,
とが
right?
厄介になる前に狩猟閣を潰してしまえれば、万事は丸く解決なのです、港
We'll
様。
think about that later. Best if we eliminate the leader, yeah?
私もあなたもお代官を捕らえたい。目的は一致。協力は当然と思われません？
You see, officer, we both need to capture the prefect, and since our goals are the same, it's only logical we cooperate, no?
問題が1点別の代官が赴任してきてまた同じことになるとも考えられます
One problem. If a new prefect is assigned, won't he just continue in the same vein?
長坂大尉は最高事業を黙認させるために民生局へポケットマネーをばらまいたご様子。幕命による事業なら彼個人がそんな真似をする必要はありません。つまりこれは独創。
I've learned Captain Nagasaka has been funneling money to civil affairs in exchange for their tacit approval of his mining operation. It wouldn't be necessary if the shogunate ordered it. We can conclude he's acting entirely on his own.
この事業の収益を武器に出世階段を上ってゆく腹なのでしょうね。むしろ事業が軌道に乗るまでは幕府の介入を避けたいはず。
He most likely
上
intends to
前
use
を
the
はめ
profits
ら
from
れる
his
だけ
mine
でございますから。
climb the ranks. In which case he'll want to keep its existence a secret until it shows results, otherwise his superiors will claim the greater share of the earnings.
納得です村としても代官がいなくなり最高事業が中止となれば最善
Sounds logical. Is it
そう
safe
考
to
え
assume
て
the
支障はあ
village
りません
too?
か
They'd prefer to have the prefect gone and the mining operation halted?
はいはい願ってもないことでございます
Yes, yes,
ど
we'd
う
be
か
eternally grateful. However,
と
however,
代官の部下のことですが今のところ全てが捕まっているというわけではなく
But
も
the
しか
prefect's
する
men.
と残りが代官と合流しているかもしれません
There are still a few who haven't been captured. He might already have joined up with them.
まあこれはしたり見逃しがございましたか。
How shocking. We missed some, did we?
正規の兵士はあれで全員だと思います。しかし先ほども申しました怪しげな連中が
Ah, okay.
代官の用心棒の
I think you got all the regular soldiers, but there's still the prefect's mercenaries, those strange folk I mentioned earlier.
あら、いけない。うっかり忘れていました。
I completely forgot. Extra mercenaries.
やつらは今日は朝からどこかへ出かけたようでして、悪運が強いと申しますか。
Who were away from the village this morning.
巡察官様とは出くわさずに済んだようで。
I suppose they were lucky not to have run into the inspector.
了解しました。念頭に置いておきます。
Understood. I will take every precaution. Though the enemy may not be alone, things could get complicated. But then, things are always complicated. While I have to exercise caution, it's nothing to be particularly anxious about.
では、大鳥巡察官殿。これより自分は任務を再開したく思いますが、行動の自由を認めていただけるでしょうか。
If I may be excused, Lieutenant, I'd like to return to my mission. Do I have your approval to act as I see fit?
もちろんです。私はしばらくここへご厄介になります。
Of
支援が
course.
必要でしたら、その都度ご連絡をくださいまし。
I'll take advantage of the mayor's accommodations a little while longer. Should you have need of assistance, please contact me.
恐縮です。それでは失礼します。
Much appreciated. I'll take my leave now.
お邪魔いたしました。
Mayor, thanks for your hospitality. The mayor doesn't even have a real name. His name is just Mayor.
いえ、何のお構いもできませず。
You can tell he's not important because they didn't even give him a sprite. Like a 2D sprite for his face. Even that gangster guy got a whole sprite. This poor mayor, he's getting the shaft. And he's either being written out of the story soon or he's not going to be relevant in another scene. Not at all. I wish I could have offered more in the way of refreshments. Oh, there he is.
Damn. 年を食ったかよ。俺もあのような若造に。
I must be getting old to let a whelp like that best me.
畜生。
Next time I'll
不覚であったの。主らしくもない。
It's not like you to suffer defeat.
小太郎。
Taro. Oh look, she's got a sprite and she's been introduced for 1
怪
second.
我は大したことはないようだの。内身程度か。何より何より。主にもまだ運があるということよ。
Well, that's certainly an interesting voice for that sprite. Make me think I'm in a video game. Like, oh look, it's a hot chick, but her voice sounds like she's a 60-year-old man. So it's we're in a game. We're in a video game. That's what we are. The world does not seem real. The voice doesn't seem to associate with the person, or even someone vaguely in disguised as that person. Or someone who's changed their appearance to be like that in a normal way. Weird, but alright. Your injuries don't appear serious after all. A few bruises never hurt anyone. It looks like something is still looking out for you.
少し待て、薬をやろう。競争剤もあるがいかがする？飲むか？
One moment. I have just the things to fix you up. I also have a few things to put some spring in your step. Would you like one?
事情の説明はいらん様子だな。
Sounds like you know what happened.
見ておったからの。
I saw the whole thing.
何もせずにか。
I did nothing.
はてな、わしに何かできることがあったかの。
Was there anything I could have done?
そらぞらしいことを抜かす。あの場に貴様がおれば、あやつめを討ち取ることもたやすかったはずだ。
No excuses. If you'd been there killing that damn Musha, it would have been child's play.
いいなとは言わぬがの。
True.
それでいかがする？
What'd you have done then? Yeah, that's a serious. So that's some serious voice changing due to smoking. Damn.
何？
3 packs a day? Try like 10 packs, the big ones. What?
勢いに任せて巡察官とやらも切ったかね。
Killed the inspector in a fit of rage, perhaps?
それはいかんであろう。あの女を殺してしまったら我らは手詰まり。主がいかに GHQ へ拘束しておろうが無駄よ。
Yeah, it would have been a
連
poor
中
choice
は
now.
対面のために主を処刑せずばなるまい。
Killing her would have ruined everything. All the bribes in the world couldn't have kept GHQ from claiming your head. Yeah, you can't just go around and murder GHQ officials.
それを思えば主が敗れたはむしろ不幸中の幸いよ。
You
無
look at it that
論
way.
殺されては元も子も
Oh,
な
he's
い。
still going.
いざという際には手を出すつもりでいたが、お、主は自力で生還したではないか。
If you look at it that way, your defeat was a stroke of luck, of course. We can't have you dying either, so I was prepared to act if necessary. Fortunately, you escaped without my lifting a finger. Ha!
わしごときの手は無用であったということよ。だからのあんまり責めてくれるな。わしもいささか腰が重いかもしれんが、主より一回り余計に年を
Just
重
give
ね
the
てお
old
るで
man
な。
an old man
しよう
appearance.
がない。
Don't blame me for not helping when you didn't need it. I might be slow on my feet, but do remember I am getting on in my years.
抜かせ。
I'm sure, yeah.
まあいい。確かに今回は俺の失策であった。貴様に当たったところで線もないわ。
You've made your point. There's no use blaming you for my failure.
しかし、この先は働いてもらうぞ。
You'd better be ready to work next time.
無論わしは主に雇われた身ゆえ、ご用とあらば受けたまわろう。何をしようかの。
Oh, okay.
歌を読もう
A little bit of
か。
sass.
それとも
Look
絵
at
で
you.
も描こうかな。
I mean, certainly. I'm in your pay after all. How can I refuse? What'll it be then? Shall I compose a poem or a fine painting, perhaps?
俺が貴様にくれている金は厚生年金か？
Since when am I doling out pensions? What? That seems unrelated.
冗談よ、凄むでない。残念なことに我が家の家訓には無為徒食という言葉がなくての。
I was only joking. Don't
どう
clear
ぞ
me
こ
so.
の老骨に鞭打ってこき使ってくれ。
Fortunately for you, freeloading is one word you won't find in my family dictionary. You may do as you please with these old bones of mine.
当たり前だ。本気せがましいわ。貴様とてここで人稼ぎせねば後がない身であろう。
Such was my intent. Don't patronize me. You have as much need of my money as I have of your swords.
お、痛いところをついてくれるの。まさに叱りよ。しかと務めとを失い、剣までも一度は奪われた我が一族。怪しげな話にでも食いつかぬことには孫らが干上がる。
Oh, quite true. I'm sorry to say. We lost our liege, our purpose, and even for a time our tsurugi. Our grandchildren will grow up in poverty if we don't jump at every chance we get, even the ones that seem a little, shall we say, off.
口の減らぬ。だがそう思うのならば、貴様らにはあの赤い武者を相手にしてもらおうか。
If you're that desperate, you could have that crimson musha all to yourselves.
ほう、わしに譲るかね、あの村正を。これは意外。主ほどの気概ある男であれば、借りは己の手で返さずにおかぬものと思っておった。
Convenient that everyone knows what a several centuries old mecha looks like. Very convenient. Or I guess suit of power armor. Give Muramasa to me, will you? I thought a man with your pride would be itching at the chance to settle the score.
煽っているつもりか。言われずともできることならそうしている。だが翼を砕かれてはいかんともならぬわ。
Trying to provoke me, are you? Well, of course I would settle the score myself if I could. But with my wings damaged, there's no hope of that.
飛べぬか。
Your Tsurugi can't fly?
鍛冶師に直させることにはな。価値か。まさか
Until I
奴
find
が
a
俺の
smith to
頼
fix
みを
it.
聞くはずもなし。
A smith.
今頃は祝い酒でも煽っているか。
I can hardly expect him to take my commission. I imagine he's raising a cup right now to toast my defeat.
休息を取ればそのうち治ろう。
If you let it rest, I'm sure it'll be good as new in no time.
貴様らの真打ちと一緒にするな。和内はそこまで便利にできておらん。自然修復など待っておっては、俺も貴様も寿命が尽きるわ。
Kazuuchi aren't that accommodating, unlike your Shinuchi. We'll both die of old age long before it repairs itself. That bad, eh? That bad. Ouch.
やれ、
Well.
それでは仕方もなかろうの。心得た。年寄りの冷や水というものだが、ここは一つ、おいてなお盛んなりと言わせてくれよう
In
か
before,
い。
this is Ginsego. And it just uses the suit voice. It uses the suit's voice to communicate otherwise. Well, if you're so keen on watching an old man exert himself, I suppose there's no choice. I just have to prove that I can still keep up with the young.
奴は俺の首を取らねば済まぬ様子だった。すぐにも追ってこよう。任せたぞ。おいらくの身を貴様と二人、裏寂しい森に沈めるなどごめんなのでな。
That Musha seems set on taking my head. He'll likely come for me soon. Make sure you finish him. I have little desire for my withered corpse to be buried next to yours in this godforsaken forest.
それはこちらも願い下げよう。言うてはなんだが主の顔、墓の中まで付き合いたいような代物ではないからの。
As much as it pains me to say it, I can't say the prospect of staring at your face for eternity excites me.
意見があって
You
結
don't
構
like
だ。
this hard, angular face?
それはともかく。貴様、先ほど聞き捨てならぬことを漏らしたな。
I'm glad we agree. And that aside, I believe you let slip something rather important just now.
とは
Which was?
村正。
You
と
called
言
it
ったが
Muramasa?
あの赤い剣のことだの。
Oh, that red tsurugi? Yes.
確かか。
Are you certain?
さて、剣の目利きがわしの仕事ではないでな。
Well,
見立て違いということもあろうよ。
appraising tsurugi is not my profession. I suppose I might be mistaken.
しかし、一目見て伝説が歌う村正と断定はしたわけか。
But a single look was enough to convince you it was the legendary Muramasa?
そういえばあの男、妙なことを尋ねてきた。銀星号のことを知らんか。
I remember. That man asked a strange question, whether I knew Ginsego.
ほう。
Oh?
露骨にとぼけるではないか。俺の知らぬことを何か知っているよう
Is
だ。
this your best attempt at playing the fool? It seems you know something I don't.
はてな。
Wonder.
貴様が俺の剣に施した妙な仕掛けとでも関わりのあることか。
Is it related to that upgrade you performed on my tsurugi?
まあよい。いずれにしろ、ことは厄介だ。
No
あ
matter.
れが貴様の言う通り清州村正であろうとなかろうとな。
Whether he truly wields Muramasa of Seishu or not, it doesn't change the fact he's a difficult opponent.
賞賛はあるのか。
Can you defeat him?
ほその心配は無用に願おうかの。陽光村正であろうが名光正宗であろ
This
う
guy's
が
got some confidence.
この小太郎の前では同じこと。
You need not worry about that, my
子供に
friend.
等しく無力で可愛いものよ。
Whether it be the cursed Muramasa or the blessed Masamune, it matters not. When they face me, even the mightiest Musha are but lost, frightened children.
随分と吠える。貴様らがそこまでの技を秘めていたとは。
That's quite the
こ
boast.
の俺にして知らなんだぞ。
You'd best live up to your boast. I didn't know you had such powerful techniques. I guess we'll see.
血の気の多い村の若い衆なぞ相手に使うようなものでもないからの。 主のような錬磨の猛者が敵ならば出さぬではない
It's
が
not the sort of thing you waste on a few uppity villagers.
見てみたいかの
Against a veteran such as yourself, however, it may come in handy. Care to find out? No, I think we're good.
それともそちらの御人が相手をしてくださるかな
Perhaps the gentleman over there would be willing to help demonstrate.
いや、そいつは勘弁していただけませんかね。
Can I get a rain check on that?
貴様
You.
ほ久しいの反町殿
Been some time, Sorimachi.
どうも、ご無沙汰をしまして。
Why does this guy's voice sound like he's younger than the old man? He sounds younger than the person he's talking to. Sorry for not keeping in touch.
ちょうどいい貴様に使いをやろうと思っていたところだ
Good timing. I was just about to send someone to fetch you.
はい。
Yes.
それはまあ、そうでしょうとも。
I had a feeling.
大殿がおっしゃりたいことはよーくわかっております
I。got a pretty good idea what you're gonna say.
一応言わせろ腹にたまる貴様民政局とのつなぎは万全だと言っていたのではなかったかこれでどこからも邪魔は入らないと
Let me say it anyway. I need to get it off my chest. You lying bastard. You assured me civil affairs was in my pocket. They were supposed to make sure nothing got in my way.
ねえ、はい。確かにそう申し上げました。コブデン中佐にお引き合わせした折でしたっけね。
Yes, yes, I
直に
did.
話す機会も必要だろうと、この反町の終戦で。
That was when I brought you to meet Colonel Cobden, wasn't it? I figured you'd want to talk mano a mano and all that.
だが実際はどうだ巡察官だとあんなものをよこさせないための裏工作ではないか
And
こ
what
れ
did
で
it
は
get me?
何の意味もないわ
An inspector. I
コ
paid
ブデン
him.
は能なしかそれとも恩知らずか
I paid him precisely to keep this from happening. Is Cobden a fool or an ingrate? Was all that money wasted?
お怒りはごもっとも。大変ごもっともで。しかしですね、大殿。コブデン中佐は別にばっくれたわけでも、忘れてたわけでもないんでして。
You're quite right to be angry. Quite right, but just so you know, Captain, the Colonel hasn't gone back on your bargain, or forgotten it for that matter.
約束通りのことはしたと
You're saying
それ
this
でこのざまか
is how he keeps his promises?
通すべきとこにはちゃんと話を通しましたんで。はい。そいつは間違いないです。ただちょいと予想してなかった穴が
Oh, he pulled the right strings in the right places, that's for sure.
足をすくわれまして。
It's just there's one teeny thing he missed. The inspector program, he never saw it coming.
あれは民政局の人間が適当に割り振られていくやつで、占領地の実情を把握するための巡察ってのが任務なんですが、表向きのことでしてね。
An inspector's job is to check in on the locals, see how the occupied territories are getting on and all that. Or that's the PR line.
侵略者じゃありませんってカッコつけるためにあるようなもんでして。実際は、有給休暇が慰安旅行みたいなもんなんです。何もしないのが暗黙の了解になってんですよ。巡察官は。
You see, the point is to make GHQ look like an invading army, but it's really just a paid vacation. Inspectors on there, they're not supposed to do anything.
そんなだから中佐も気にはしてなかったんですがね。それでも大和人の注意がここへ巡察に出たって聞くと、使い走りに非公式の伝言を与えて終わせたんですよ。こうして。
That's why it slipped the colonel's mind, not that he didn't try to correct the mistake, mind you. As soon as he heard a Yamato and lieutenant had been assigned to this village, he sent an errand boy with a message for her.
貴様が
And that's supposed to be you?
さいで。ただそれが間に合いませんでね。着いた時にはもう、あの巡察官がやっちまった後でして。
You got it, but he was too late. By the time I arrived, the inspector had already gone and fouled it all up.
後ほど中佐に連絡を飛ばしておきますが、驚くでしょうね。何もしないのが巡察官の本分だっていうのに、まさか建前の方を押し立てて暴れ回るお人がいようとは。いやはや。
When I tell him, this, man, inspectors are supposed to be lazy bums. Who'd have thought one would actually take their job seriously? What a world.
伝言とやらは
You deliver
あ
your
の
message?
女に伝えたのか
ねえ、こちらへ来る前に。 大殿との約束がどんなのなんて言えませんから、単純に何もしないでほしいって意向を伝えるだけの内容だったんですがね。
Just before coming here, I couldn't say anything about the deal, of course, so I just relayed the Colonel's wishes for her to back off.
それをいいことに白を切られちまいまして、自分は巡察官の職務を果たすだけですとこうで、そりゃ正論ですからね。こっ
But
ち
she
とし
used
ちゃ
that
返
as
す
an
言葉っ
excuse
て
to
もん
play
がな
dumb,
い。
she did. Kept saying she's only doing her duty. Absolutely right. Oh yes, how was I supposed to argue?
あの女は何者だ？
Who is she?
詳しい話は存じませんがね。欧州のどこかの軍から連盟軍に出向してるんだそうで。そいつは別に珍しくも何ともありゃしませんが。
Right, some history on the mysterious woman. I'm not privy to the details. Apparently she's on loan to the AEF from some country in Europe or other. That by itself is nothing unusual, but
大和人なのだろう？
she's Yamatoan, isn't she?
その通りで。名前も大鳥かなえで大和人。もちろん大和語に不自由はなし。と、
Yes,
間
yes.
違いのないところでしてね。
Otori Kanae.
それがどうして欧
born
州
and
にいたや
raised.
ら。
And of course speaks the language perfectly. I haven't the faintest idea what she was doing over there.
司令部での立場は強いのか？
Does she have clout with command?
いや、全然。主流の派閥には属してないそうですからね。大和人なら何かで役に立つこともあるだろうってんで、民政局に席を与えられてるようなもんらしいですよ。
Not one bit. Doesn't belong to any of the major factions, I hear, and it sounds like they gave her a place just because they thought it'd be useful to have a native around. I mean, it would. They got a pretty bad rep, and Rokuhara isn't doing anything to improve their reputation in the country. Quite the opposite, in fact.
では今回の件は単なる跳ねっ返りの独走なのだな。
So it's just a rebellious officer gone off the reserve.
そういうことですかね。
Looks that way.
始末はどうつける？
How will you fix this?
コブデン中佐に連絡を取って召喚命令を出していただきましょう。
I'll get in touch with Colonel Cobden and ask him to order her back to base.
いつになる？
And how long will that take?
こっちの連絡は明日中にはつくとして、電話がありゃ一発なんですがね。こんな村に電線が引かれてるわけはないですし、
But a village like
それ
this
を受
won't
けた
have
中
any
佐
of
とかが
those.
すぐに動いてくれたとして、
Let's say my message gets there sometime tomorrow and the colonel gets on it right away.
中佐から巡察官への連絡は無線があるはずですんで、巡察官の方でイルスを決め込んだとしても、丸一日とはごまかせないでしょう。
You should be able to contact the
その
inspector
後
by radio.
再び態度の天下です。
She might pretend not to notice, but she can't ignore it for a whole day, surely. After that, it's all yours, Captain.
ここ数日が勝負というこ
And
とだ
so
ろう。
everything will be decided in a matter of days.
わかった。よろしく頼む。思えば貴様には世話になりっぱなしだな。GHQ との折衝に有志の
Yeah,
仲
this
介。
guy's
幕兵以外の駒
doing lots of
も
work.
入りようだろうと、小太郎をよこしてもくれた。
Alright, I'm counting on you. Sorry, Machi. Come to think of it, I'm rather in your debt, aren't I? Not only have you negotiated with GHQ and secured financing on my behalf, you even sent Kotaro to supplement my men.
そうだの。反町殿はわしにとっても剣を取り戻してくれた上に儲け話の世話までしてくれた恩人。
I feel the same.
感謝しておるよ。
You returned my clan Tsurugi and gave us a chance to make a decent wage, Yuvo. You're a good man to have around.
滅相もないことで。
Oh, it was nothing.
成功の暁には報いさせてもらおう。
I'll make sure you're rewarded once my plans have succeeded. And Sorimachi is just like, there is a decent chance your plans do not succeed. That's what he's thinking, right? He's like, there's a pretty good chance your plans don't succeed, but I don't think there's a chance he's gonna get punished for it, so yeah, it's all good.
いや、お気持ちだけいただいておきましょうか。
Mighty kind of you, but your gratitude is more than enough.
おお、無欲な男だな。
Oh, how charitable of you. Unless
俺が成功しようとしまいと、貴様らにはどうでもいいのだと。
it doesn't matter to you whether I succeed or fail. Is that how your GHQ masters see it?
走り、
Sorimachi
反
Ichizo?
町一蔵。
Oh, it is. Success or failure is irrelevant here. It's a random mine.
そう言っちゃ身も蓋もありませんが。要はそういうことですかね。
When you put it like that, pretty much.
鼻持ちならんやつめ。
Right, scoundrel, you are.
恐れ入ります。
I'll take that as a compliment. The man's disguised as or actually living as Yakuza. He probably doesn't care.
もう一つ聞いておきたいことがある。
By the way, I have one more question for you,
なんなりと。
if I may be of service.
赤い武者は見たか？
Have you seen a crimson musha?
いえ、話は聞きましたがね。5歳なんだったようで。
No, though I heard what happened. My condolences.
何者かわからんか？本人の言を信じるなら、六原でも進駐軍でもないらしい。
Do you know anything? If his words are to be trusted, he's not affiliated with Rokuhara or GHQ. I mean, who could he be?
さて、心当たりってほどのもんでもございませんが。
Hold on. Well, now, it's not what I'd call much of a lead.
なんだ？
What is it?
宣告、巡察官殿に会いに行った折ですがね。前にちらりと顔を合わせたことのある警官と出くわしましたんで。
See, just now, when I went to see the inspector, I ran into a cop outside the mayor's palace.
警官？
A cop?
やたら不景気な面した若い男なんですがね。
A young fellow with an awfully gloomy look on
ど
his
う
face.
いう人間だ？
What sort of man was he? Good evening, my friend.
さてね、口も聞いてないんで。
I don't know, we didn't say a word to each other.
ただあれはね、あたしらなんかとはどうも生理的に合いそうにない野郎ですよ。
But if I had to guess, I'd say he's the sort who doesn't get along well with our kind.
というと？
Which is to say, God, that voice. The voice in the face. Why? He sounds older than the old man with a cane.
善人です。まっとうな家で教育を受けてきたんでしょうね。
A good guy, a real saint. I'd bet he was raised in a nice, loving family. I see
そ
what
れ
you
は
mean.
確かに。合わんか。
for yourselves.
わしはともかくとして主らはの
I'm a paragon of
互い
virtue.
に虫が好かぬであろうて。
A paragon of virtue. you say.
好きか嫌いかで言えば、別に嫌いじゃあ
That's
りま
not
せんが
saying
ね。
I don't like his
私
sword.
は真面目に生きてる人間はみんな好きなんで。
Everyone who takes life
善玉
seriously
で
is
も
good.
悪玉で
All
も
right, in my book.
ね。
Good or bad. This guy's an interesting character. This guy is an interesting character, although this conversation with the quote-unquote bad guys is going on way too long. I was thinking this would be like a 2-second conversation, and it's freaking long. The heck? It's kind of surprising, right? Like the duration of this conversation is getting really long. I'm not sure what it's doing other than they're like, oh, this red guy's a problem. It's not a terrible conversation, it's just surprising how long it is.
今の世の中誰もが真剣よ。遊びで生きていられるやつなどおらんわさ。
That's every-
それで反町殿、つまりはその男が武者だと？
It's everyone these days, my friend. No one can afford to treat life like a game, and not anymore. Do you think he was the Musha? So, the Musha? Yes.
そう決めつけられるほどの材料はないんですがね。ただ、最初に会った時から思ってたんですがね。あの男、やっとの方は相当使いますよ。
I don't know enough to say for sure. I'll tell you this much, though. He's good with a blade, and I knew that the moment I saw him.
武者であってもおかしくないほどにか。
Good enough to be a Musha?
ええ。
Oh, yeah.
警察が武者を抱えているとは初耳だが。
It's the first I've heard of the police having a Musha.
念のため反町殿、そやつの人相を教えてくださらんかな。
Err on the side of caution. Can you tell me what he looks like?
お安いご用で。
No problem. Yes, an aura of darkness that literally anyone recognizes from like 20 meters away. It's nearly dusk by the time I begin my search of the forest.
体調はどう？
How are you feeling?
良好とは言えないが、問題はない。
Not my best, but it'll do. The duel with the prefect nearly drained my calorie reserves dry. Food and rest are the only way to replenish them, and normally I would require an easily digestible meal of moderate size, and at least 6 hours sleep to be at full strength. The current situation, however, forces me to prioritize my pursuit of the prefect. The longer I wait, the more time he has to regroup. I ate some energy bars from a small, out-of-the-way store, did some light exercises to aid digestion, defecated, and took a brief rest. As such, about 2 hours have passed since leaving the mayor's residence. It's better than nothing, but only just. Still, it should hold me through a single short engagement.
走行は敵へ確認まで控える。奇襲の可能性を考慮すると危険だが、今は熱量の消耗を最小
Yeah,
限に
thanks.
抑えて
We
いる。
really needed to know that he took a shit. It was really important to know that. Essential for the plot. To know that people in this universe do that. I'll refrain from armoring until we make contact. We risk being taken by surprise, but for now, I want to conserve fuel at all costs.
そうね。相手に待ち伏せをかけるような余力がないことを祈りましょう。
I guess you're right. Let's just pray he doesn't have the strength to mount an ambush. Or reinforcements, as he does. Awkward. As I walk down the unpaved road, I wonder at the notable absence of foot traffic. Is it simply because there are no fields in this direction, or have the villagers locked themselves in their homes to wait out the storm? Given the setting sun, I suppose it might be just the time of day. I wanted to finish this before dark, but it's looking to be a difficult proposition. The season is already late autumn, a time of year when poets liken the sun to a falling rock. Maybe he asked Muramasa for the optimal shitting strats. This guy is asking Muramasa for advice in social situations.
誰に
To whom?
誰に祈れる俺は。
Whom should I pray? I don't know. Korn probably accepts prayers.
神仏の恩寵を願える筋合いではない。
I'm hardly in a position to beg the favor of the gods. Have you spilled the blood of anyone recently? Korn might be for you.
なら、悪魔の庇護でも願えばどう？
Why not ask for a demon's protection?
自分に祈って何の意味がある？
How can I grant my own prayers?
私に祈れと言っているのよ。
I was referring to myself. Praying to Muramasa? Really?
うぬぼれるな、獲物。
You think too highly of yourself, weapon. Like, why not pray to me for strength?
うぬぼれないことね、手足。
I could say the same for you, puppet. Pulpit. The shadows are growing longer by the minute, and I pick up the pace. I wonder about the other guy we beat, the one who we killed. Is his Musha permanently... is his Tsurugi permanently destroyed, or is it just injured? Can you retrieve a Tsurugi from a defeated enemy and give it to someone else after patching it up? I mean, it's a suit of armor with a computer in it, right? It can't be that hard to do it if you just kill the pilot, who is also the power source. Once he's gone, you could probably retrieve it. Not like our character could do anything useful with the extra set of armor. On the other hand, maybe the police guy he's working with would have some use for it. I mean, it looked like he caused that one to kind of explode, but I don't know what magically makes... I don't know if all Tsurugi explode on death or something. We leave the road leading up to the sacred mountain and enter the forest proper, aiming for the area where I saw the prefect crash. It's unlikely he could have gotten far with the wounds he would have sustained upon impact. Finding him shouldn't be too difficult. That is, if I don't let this maze of thick interlocking trees throw off my sense of direction. With the terrain and time of day as they are, I can't even depend on the sun for guidance. This is a terrible idea.
森に慣れた案内人を頼むべきだったろうか。
Perhaps I should have requested a guide. I dismiss the idea as soon as it comes to mind. How can I risk someone else's safety when I wasn't even Can't even ensure my own. Perhaps the challenges facing me have brought on a spell of faint-heartedness. I dig the nails of my left hand into the palm of my right, and the pain helps to renew my focus.
気配はあるか
You sense
え
anything?
え、カカ様の。こればっかりは間違いようのない匂い。確かにこの辺りにある。
Mother's scent. Unmistakable, it's definitely around here somewhere.
正確な位置はわからないのだな
But you don't know the exact location?
私のあれの気配を捉える能力は剣本来の耳ほど確かじゃないのよ。
My ability to
漠
sense
然とした
Mother
位置以上
and
のこ
her
とは無
eggs
理ね。
isn't as
機
precise
械
as
内に収め
radar.
れば特定はできるのだけれど。
I can only get a general idea of their location, and it takes visual confirmation to be sure.
そちらには反応がないのかレーダーには
What about your radar? Hear anything?
地表で。しかもこの地形ではね。
On the ground in this terrain?
そうだな愚問だった
Of course, a foolish question. Spontaneously combusting through. I assumed it was his magnetic attack that caused an explosion somehow. That was my assumption. And like, if you just stabbed with a regular ass sword, he wouldn't explode. Turns out Railgun's sword does a lot of damage. How the sword doesn't get blown up, we'll never know. Or even damaged, yeah. But hey. Does a lot of damage, caused the big explosion, looks cool. Radar is useless with all these trees and rocks surrounding us. What we need is a powerful infrared scanner like those armor mounted on the Army's newest Walker Dragoons. One of those isn't simply gonna fall into our laps.
地道に探すとしよ
Looks like we're stuck searching the old-fashioned
そう
way.
ね。方角の確認は任せて。
Leave the direction to me.
うコンパスの代わりにはなるということだな
Steel serves the
それは
compass
助かる。
at least. That's helpful.
ええ、私も自分の有能さに感動してる。
Awed by my own usefulness. I proceed through the undergrowth, Muramasa's last biting words lingering in the small bones of my ears. We haven't come that far yet, but already every direction I turn looks the same. There are trees, and more trees as far as the eye can see. Everyone's favorite terrain. In the pitch black of the night. In the light of day, this might have been a pleasant stroll, and with night fast approaching, however, I must appear either as a fool testing its courage or a suicidal man looking for a place to die. The latter seems more plausible. Any of the surrounding trees would provide a suitable purchase for a noose.
どこかから悲鳴か恨み事でも聞こえてきそうね。
I keep expecting to hear a scream or the mutterings of a ghost. Muramasa's chatter evinces a similar train of thought to my own.
いわば招くというぞ
Speak of the devil and he doth appear, they say.
こういう話をしていると。
You mean talking about it might make it happen?
ああ
Yes, yes. So don't speak of the guy you're looking for,
こ
because
ん
he
な
might
風かし
appear.
ら。
You mean like that?
そうだな
Yes, like that. My foot catches against something on the ground, a root, probably exposed by heavy rain. After checking that my shoe is undamaged, I resume walking, taking greater care where I step. But there's little danger of injury. There's a little danger of injury, but a damaged shoe would impede my movements.
大丈夫？
Are you
問
alright?
題ない
Yes.
ね
Hey.
ああ
Yes. I stop
え、
walking.
今、本当に聞こえなかった？
I think I really did hear something just now.
俺もそのように思う
So did I. I scan the area, nothing out of the ordinary, just trees, rocks, and dirt. I train my ears. Silence. Only the buzzing of insects and the rustling of leaves, nothing to draw my attention. That only makes the sound echo louder in my memory. I strongly doubt I'd imagine something like that in a quiet forest like this.
人の声ではなかったな
Didn't sound human.
そう思うけれど。野犬？
But was it a wild dog?
もう少し大きい獣のような気もする
Something larger, I
音
think.
楽はわかるか
You know where it came from?
わかるけど。
Yeah, you're gonna
行く
check
つ
it
も
out?
り？
Sounds like the howl of a wolf, and they're just like, ah, that seems like the direction to go in.
獣が理由もなく叫ぶことはないそしてあれは攻撃的な声だった
Animals don't roar without good reason, and that was an aggressive sound.
人が襲われているのかもしれない。
You think someone might be in danger? I mean, what about you?
野獣同士の喧嘩なら相手の声も聞こえてきて良さそうなものだと思わないか
If two wild animals were fighting, don't you think we'd have heard the second by now?
確かに。了解。行きましょう。 先導するからついてきて。
I'll lead the way. Stay close.
そう遠くはないはず。
It shouldn't be far. Spiderbot goes first. Okay. Why Muramasa the spider, we'll never know. My fears were well founded, but then they usually are. A person is visible through the trees, of middling height and wearing a school uniform. A village boy, perhaps? In the dim light, it's hard to be sure. The person is crouched, their back to us, facing off with something in the bushes. Something indeed. At this angle, with the student blocking my line of sight, most ordinary animals would be hard to make out. But this creature is clearly visible and therefore far from ordinary. It's a dog, a wild dog most likely. Its fierce glare and rough tousled fur set it apart from the domesticated hounds you see in human company. Indeed, its savage visage would not look out of place amongst a company of Rokuhara soldiers. The truly incredible thing is its size, comparable to that of a small bear. If it stood on its hind legs, it might even rival an average human in height. A wolf the size of a bear? Holy hell! That is a big fucking animal. Jesus. I would not want to deal with something that is closer to Sif than a puppy. Alright. I've never seen such a dog before, wild or otherwise. Yeah, that's a little bit big for a wolf.
妙な話ね。
There's something strange about this, Muramasa says inside my skull. Yeah, if it's meant to be the real world with only one minor change, wolves don't get to be as big as bears. That's colossal. That's absolutely ridiculous as far as size goes.
村の人たちはあんな獣と共存してきたというわけ？あの体ではとてもこの森の中だけで餌を賄うことなんてできないでしょ。
Do the villagers really coexist with such creatures? I can't imagine a beast like that finding enough in this forest to sate its appetite. I nod silently. Could the creature have wandered in from elsewhere? My questions will have to wait. The tension in the air is thick, though the student remains utterly motionless even as the beast's growling grows more hostile. I cannot tell whether the student is looking at their opponent. If they were alone, I would guess them to be picking flowers.
Mido,
shouldn't we?
いるまい。
No need. I should be able to handle such a beast without my armor. Although that isn't what I meant. I reduce my pace, approaching slowly and silently. If I leap into the fray, it could distract the student and give the beast an advantage. It would be shameful indeed if I got someone killed by offering assistance when it clearly wasn't needed. Once close enough, I hide behind a nearby tree. The dog, however, seems to sense my arrival, perhaps fearing what I might do. It howls one last time in warning. And then it lunges before the echoes have faded, fangs poised to tear into the yet motionless student. The beast is fast, with a typical arrow-like charge, typical of canines. At this close range, evading such an attack will be nigh impossible. And at last, the student rises to their feet, their motions slow and deliberate, bear-like even. Though I just compared the dog to a bear moments ago, the human, it seems, is more deserving. The dog leaps, the student waits, the two meet, and it is not the wild dog who takes the enemy's throat. First contact is established between the student's right fist and the dog's brittle trachea, the former punching through the latter like a hammer against a porcelain vase. It is the dog's own power that affects this outcome. I imagine an orange flung at a pincushion, and you'd have the right idea. The student needed no more strength than was necessary to place their fist in the enemy's path. I hear a sharp, somehow comical crunch, or do I just imagine it? If so, then I imagine it because the sight is so surreal. The massive creature soaring through the air like a circus animal, howling all the while before crashing to earth exactly where it began. The fallen beast thrashes briefly in the dirt, and by the time the student has walked to its side, the convulsions have all but subsided, leaving only the short, wheezing sound of its last breaths. The blow must have crushed vertebrae along with the trachea and larynx, for which the creature needed only thank its own strength. As a result, it won't have to suffer a long, agonizing death. Ironic, yes, and pitiful. This guy just one-punched a wolf the size of a bear. So I wonder how much that wolf would weigh. How much would that wolf weigh, you think? Like what? Probably about the same as a bear, right? Like, that's like 200-300 kilos? And you just like one punch it like it's no big deal? I'm surprised its weight did not snap your arm like a twig. Or that it even was able to fall back after you shattered its vertebrae? Like, you're breaking bones? I bet its vertebrae are bigger than your fist. That's impressive. That nothing broke. The student stops a pace or two away from the dying animal, perhaps unsure whether to deal the finishing blow, but before they can decide, it's over. As the dog draws its last breath and the forest falls silent once more, the student bows their head in regret, if only slightly. Seeing this, I think... I guess we'll go with sincere, sure. Incredibly efficient. And without hesitation, sincere. This reaction is nothing if not sincere. The student's regret does not come from having killed without intent. There was no hint of doubt in their strikes. They knew their blow would slay the creature and yet followed through nonetheless. The student must have decided there was no other way to guarantee their own survival. Or perhaps that was their mission and intent from the beginning. They were right, of course. One must never underestimate wild animals, and knowing that, it should be easy for the student to banish guilt and celebrate victory. Such is the right of all who survive battles not of their choosing, all the more when the enemy is a monster like that creature was. But the student doesn't celebrate, for all that matters to them in the aftermath is the fact they have taken a life, and this burden they shoulder willingly, knowing it is theirs to bear. How was I ever supposed to respond with immature? That was a weird one. Like, what's immature about this? I don't get it. Maybe his belief that killing it was somehow a mistake? Or wrong? Even though he acted without hesitation? Maybe it's naivety for caring about the beast you killed? I don't know. Some might possess or dismiss this as mere posturing, and I, however, choose to ascribe it to the workings of a pure heart. I can't help but find it endearing. Sentiment must try to avoid endearment. Oh, it's her, really?
もういいよ、見物に。
You can come out now? Just as I was debating whether to leave, the student speaks over their shoulder. They knew I was here all along, it seems, and I step out from behind the tree.
武者式の組み打ち術ですか?
Have you studied a Musha school of unarmed combat?
わかるのか。ばあさんに習ったんだ。維新で没落する前は、ここら辺の殿様だった家の系類だとかで、
Oh,
いろ
you
いろ
can
とな。
tell? I learned it from my grandmother. Her family used to rule these parts before they lost everything in the Restoration. They dust their hands off on their shirt and turn and fix me with piercing eyes. These immediately narrow in surprise, which equally turns to unveiled disgust.
てめえかよ。
I mean, we got the relationship points with her, right? Like, you have to know it's her.
その説は
A pleasure to see you again. I reply with a slight bow. The student is not a boy, nor is this our first meeting. Hers is not a face I'm likely to forget soon. She's the girl who intervened during the altercation with the Rokuhara-backed gangsters in Kamakura some time ago. They called her Ichijo, if I'm not mistaken. Why do I have an affection meter with, like, a 12-year-old? It was thanks to her the children in my company at the time were unharmed. She rejected my thanks then, but now I have a second chance to offer it. But before I can decide whether to make the attempt, she preempts me.
あの時は土下座で、今日は見物か。大したもんだな、近頃の警察は。
First you bow to gangsters, and now you watch while people get attacked by dogs. Cops these days are really something, huh?
恐縮です。女性は無用と見えたもので手出しを控えさせていただきました。
No, at all. I judge my assistance unnecessary and refrained from interfering.
言い訳としちゃ上等だ。
A nice excuse, she says with venom in her voice. What if it's true, though? I don't begrudge her reaction. It's only natural to judge cowardly a man who watches from the shadows while someone fights for her life. In fact, I should probably apologize for standing idle regardless of my motives.
申し訳ありません。
My sincerest apologies. I bow deeply.
でけえ図体してやがるくせに。
You should put your size to good use once in a while. The girl looks away, scorn clear on her face. My apology seems to have irritated her further. Not that I begrudge her stringent attitude, and such is the provenance of you. I follow with an innocuous question.
一条さんとおっしゃいましたか。このようなところでお会いするとは奇遇なことです。
Miss Ichijo, was it? A
何か
strange
ご用事でも
coincidence
終わりですか。
to run into you here. Do you have business with the village?
一条さん。
Miss Ichijo? No response. Silence falls upon our corner of the forest.
会話が途絶えた。
The conversation reached a standstill. Oh no! Muramasa, what do I do?
私に言われても
What am I supposed to do about it? He was asking!
小粋なジョークか。
Should I try a witty joke? Oh no, he is asking Muramasa what to do.
やめなさい。
Don't dare. My Tsurugi's curt response reaches me from her hiding place, probably in one of the trees overhead, as though she could hear our exchange. The girl turns back to me and speaks, her voice dripping with reluctance.
あやねだ。
Ayane.
Oh.
Pardon?
あやねだよ。
It's Ayane. Ayane, it's her name, obviously, but what am I supposed to do with it?
先方の趣旨をつまり。
Am I to
名前で呼べ
understand? This is a request to use her given name?
そうね。
Probably. How it sounds
私
to
に
me.
もそう聞こえるけど
We're already best friends? Muramasa sounds as confused as I am. Strange, I thought she loathed me. Why would she allow me to use her given name? In any case, best not to be rude.
一条綾音さんですか。愛らしい良き名前かと思います。
Miss Ichijo Ayane, is it? A lovely name if I may be so bold.
しかし面識の浅い意味で名前をお呼びするのもぶしつけ。やはり一条さんと呼ばせていただく方が自分としても心苦しくなく。
However, it would be discourteous to call you by your given name when we've only just met. If you will allow me to continue addressing you as Miss Ichijo, I would feel it less of an imposition.
そう。
That's, she doesn't seem very happy about that.
何か一条さん。
Is something the matter, Miss Ichijo?
そっちが名前だ。
That's my given name. He's just like, well, this is fucking awkward.
失礼いたしました。綾音一条さん。自分は鎌倉署の港影明です。
My apologies, Miss Ayane Ichijo. I'm Minato Kageaki of the Kamakura Police Department. Well, that's super awkward. He's like, isn't it awkward referring to someone by their personal name? Shouldn't I use your last name? And she's like, that was my last name. That was my... Oh, awkward. Awkward. Alright. Mr. Kamakura Police Department.
ああ、本当に失礼だ。慣れ慣れしく何度も名前呼びやがった挙句に、くそ。
You'd better apologize, calling me by my name over and over like we're friends or something. Shit. As the furiously blushing Miss Ichijo, Ayane, collects herself, I take a few moments to consider this revelation. So this is the danger of entertaining preconceptions. This man is like a machine. Alright. Ayane is blushing. Clearly embarrassed at what? Does she detest us or secretly think we're handsome? I don't know.
勉強になった。
You learn something new every day.
そうね。この場合問題は私たちより彼女の名付け親にあるような気もするけれど
Yeah, although in this case, I don't think we're to blame so much as the parents who named her. Rue.
まっすぐに育ってほしいとの願いを込めたのではなかろうか。
They must have wished her to grow up straight and true.
女の子らしさとかは考えてあげなかったのかしら
I think they could have gone with something more appropriate for a girl. By the time Muramasa and I completed the silent exchange, Ayane has recovered and is glaring at me more fiercely than before.
それでなんでこんなとこにいるんだよ、おまわり。
Anyway, what brings you here, officer?
公務です。
Official business. I'm waiting for an answer from her to the same question, but no matter. Her reply is an apathetic snort.
あなたは
And yourself?
公務だよ。
Official business! What a coincidence! I consider this perfunctory answer official business. A student on official business in the mountains. Of course.
昆虫採集ですか。
You must be collecting insects.
なんでだ。
Why?
カブトムシの幼虫を狙うなら、そこの腐葉土などが適しています。
If you're looking for beetle larvae, you will likely find some under that pile of rotting leaves.
違う。答える義理はねえって遠回しに言ってんだ。わかれよ。
He takes it literally and she's getting tilted. Oh, goodness. I'm not. I'm telling you, it's none of your damn business. Get it?
わかりました。
Got it. I suspected as much, but thought it prudent to assume she was telling the truth, just in case it seemed such tact was uncalled for.
無作法な詮索をお詫びします。
I apologize for the intrusion. Damn, you pissed me
い
off.
ちいちイライラさせる野郎だな。
そうですか。
You are?
面
Sorry to
目
hear
あり
that.
ません。
あのな、こっちが先に聞いたんだよ。何してんのかって。その後でお前が同じこと聞いたからって無作法なわけねえだろ。
I asked you a question, right? And then you asked me the same question? How the hell is that an intrusion?
真面目に答えろとでも言やいいじゃねえか。それをあっさり頭下げやがって。恥ずかしいとは思わねえのかよ。
Why didn't you say cut the crap or something, huh? Her tone is heavy with contempt. Aren't you, like, ashamed of yourself, backing down like that?
思いません。
Not at all. My response renders her speechless for a moment.
なんでだ。
Why not?
自分は公僕です。
I'm a servant of the people. Well, close enough.
である以上、自分の活動は任務上支障のない範囲で市民の方々に対し明らかにされているべきです。
As such, my
それ
activities
が
are
開
made
かれた
public
政治というものです。
insofar as it does not hinder my mission, and that is what it means to have an open government.
しかし市民は警察に対して生活を明らかにする義務はありません。もし警察がそれを強要するなら、基本的人権に対する侵
The
害となり
people,
ます。
however, are under no obligation to divulge their activities to the police. Should an officer attempt to force such a disclosure, that would be a violation of basic human rights. Machine-like. It's like him and Muramasa swapped bodies. Like, Muramasa is an actual person, and this guy is just the machine given flesh. He has no concept of anything. And he knows everything only as it comes from the dictionary.
従って、
Or other
自分にはあなたの
rules,
質問に答える義務がありますが、あなたが自分の質問を拒絶するのは自由です。あなたに責められるべき比例はありません。
Hence why while I have a duty to answer your questions, you are free to reject mine as you please. You have done nothing to warrant blame. As I finish, I realize it's lucky we're in the middle of a deserted forest. My words could easily be taken as political criticism, what with the human rights being far from the top of Rokuhara's priorities. If I were to make such a statement on a crowded street, it would be certain to reach the ears of one of the shogunate's spies, which sits seated amongst the citizenry in an assault on the very privacy which I am espousing. I could very well find myself arrested and carted off to Fudaraku Castle, and I wouldn't be the first. Often in such cases, the people who merely listened suffer the same treatment as the person who spoke. Great caution is necessary when discussing politics. Of course, Miss Ayane doesn't appear perturbed by the risk, and she just looks at me like she swallowed something sour.
根性ねえくせに口は達者だな。
For a guy with no guts, you sure can talk.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much.
褒めてねえよ。墓参りに来たんだ。
It wasn't a compliment. I'm visiting my grandma. A second passes before I realize she's answering my
こ
question.
の近くに小さい村があるだろう。ばあさんがそこの生まれなんだ。墓もそこにある。鎌倉に埋めれば面倒もなかったんだけどよ。
She was born
遺
there,
言だったから。
and her grave is there. It would have been less of a pain to bury her in Kamakura, but her will said she wanted it here.
そうですか。
I see. Her explanation, though curt, is easy to understand. It has raised a new question, however.
鎌倉から村へ行く途中でここへ
You're on your way to the village from Kamakura.
あ
Yeah. I summon a map of the area in my head.
この森は村を間に挟んで
If
鎌
I'm
倉
not
の反対
mistaken,
側にあるはずなのですが
this forest is on the opposite side of the village from Kamakura.
そうなのか
Really? Really? She's like, oh shit, he called my bluff. He called my bluff.
はい
Yes, it's also like midnight, and they're in the forest alone. At least unless you intend to circumnavigate the globe. No big deal. She's just like, I've been called out.
迷子になられたのですか
Are you lost, perchance?
迷子とか言うな
I'm not lost.
沢口まではバスで
You took the bus to Sawaguchi?
ああ
Yeah.
そこから村までは一本道のはず
There's only one road between there and the village.
何首をかしげてやがる
Stop stroking your damn chin! Either her sense of direction is abysmal, or she's lying and is feeling awkward.
一体どうして迷子になら
How
れ
in
た
the
のです
world
か
did you get lost?
迷子じゃね
I'm not lost!
では
えいやそのほらなんだ歩きっぱなしじゃ飽きるから
Well, you
ちょ
know how
っ
it is.
と足を止めて景色とか眺めたりすることってあるだろ
Sometimes you get tired of walking, so you stop taking the scenery. That happens, right?
あります
It does.
それでまた歩き出そうとしてふと周りを見ると自分がどっちの方角から来たのか分からなくなってるってことも普通にあるよな
You suddenly realize you have no idea which direction you came from. It happens all the time, right?
ありません
It does not.
この野郎きっぱりはっきりと
Asshole, it's like, yeah, sure, I'd stop and take a look around every once in a while. But you get lost sometimes too, right? And he's like, no, I don't. Making me sound like a freak. In any case, we seem to have gotten to the root of the problem. I sum it up as concisely as I can.
要するに
You have no
方
sense
向
of
音痴な
direction.
のですね
This guy, oh my god.
要するんじゃね
Say it like that.
えいや違うからな
ミド
Yeah.
Hmm.
Muramasa's voice cuts into the conversation, not that Ayana can hear it. I give the Tsurugi my attention.
まずいんじゃない今この森は危険よそこをこんな迷子にうろうろさ
How
れ
do
た
you
ら
get lost? It's a straight path. Listen, I've read stories of people with spectacularly poor senses of direction. In fact, from a certain comic, I believe a monk I believe he was a monk, somehow managed to find himself in the seven hells, walking down a straight corridor. That's right, walking down a perfectly ordinary hall. They somehow found themselves in hell. And the only thing they could say to that was, oh, it's amphitheater. And all they said was, I'm not a clever man. Fantastic. Fantastic stuff. Actually, that comic was pretty good. It's since ended, but it was a simple 8-bit comic using sprites from Final Fantasy 1, I believe, that riffed on the original story, featuring a bunch of characters who completely ignored the main plot and did their own thing. It was fantastic. The thief stole his class advancement from his future self. It had a black mage whose the only spell that, well, actually it was like Megumin, except they were just an edgy asshole. So instead of being funny, their only spell was a nuke, and they just use it on a whim in the middle of a city if someone was annoying them. Funny shit. They're all terrible people, but it was amazing. The red mage had worshipped the system, which he represented as a D20. Oh, it was some funny shit. His horrible experience with Chocobo, trying to make them into motorbikes. Oh my god. When they were trying to escape an island. Oh, it had so many dumb shenanigans. They're also hated dwarves. So many jokes. I think they razed the dwarven kingdom to the ground, claiming that they were all infested with beard-shaped parasites. That was great. That was actually a really funny comic. Ah, the good old days of webcomics all being on their own URLs. That was a long time ago. That was a long time ago. These days, there's aggregate sites. Yes, it is dangerous, but what do we care?
なるほど。
I see. Point taken. Muramasa's concern is well-founded. If Ayane stumbles across the prefect in these woods, there's no telling what could happen. He may not kill her, but I doubt he'll let her go on her way. It would be best if she reached the village as quickly as possible.
おい聞けよ。いいか、私は別に迷子でも方向音痴でもなくて、その3次元世界を2次元に矮小化する地図というものの欺瞞に対して科学的義憤を禁じ得ないという。
These copium responses are so good. Are you listening? I'm not lost or anything stupid like that. It's just my scientific brain can't cope with the sheer logic of having a 3-dimensional world represented by a 2-dimensional map. She's not lost. She just can't comprehend 3 dimensions being compressed into 2 in representative form. Maybe you're just...
病気回復への第一歩は症状を直視することです。
The first step to recovery is admitting you have a problem. Oh my god.
病気?
Are you calling me sick?
綾音さん、ここからどう進めば村へ出られるか。
You know which way to go to reach the village?
まっすぐ。
Straight.
芸術的な回答です。
An artistic
困り
answer.
果てました。
How profoundly troubling.
お前今
You're loving
心
this, aren't
底
you?
コケにしなかったか？
ここは村から直線距離で約1キロ半ほどの地点です。方角はこちらが北。そしてあちらの方角、約8キロに沢口があります。いかがでしょう？現在地の把握は可能ですか？
From here, it is about 1.5 kilometers to the village if you walk in a straight line. This way is north, and if you go that way for 8 kilometers, you'll reach Sawaguchi. Well, have you grasped your present location?
と
She looks around for a bit, then stabs a finger in the opposite direction from north.
南極ってこっちだよな。
I think the South Pole is that way. You don't say.
なぜそういちいち芸術的なのですか？
Why do you insist on being so artistic?
だから何がだ？
What the hell does that mean?
わかりました。
I suppose I have
仕
no
方あり
choice.
ません。
He's like, oh god, I have no choice. I point in the direction of the
こ
village.
の方向へまっすぐ進んでください。そちらに村があります。
Please walk straight in this direction. You'll soon reach the village.
ああ。
Got it.
良いですか？必ずまっすぐ進むことです。
Whatever you do, proceed in a perfectly straight line. Understand?
わかったよ。
Alright, alright.
木を避けるときには曲がるけど、それはいいんだろ？
Alright, I have to walk around trees. Is that fine with you?
ダメです。
No.
ダメ？
No! What do I do if there's a tree in my way?
あなたのように芸術的な方はきっとそれだけで迷います。
Even that will doubtless make someone as artistic as you veer off course.
その芸術的ってのやめろ。じゃあどうしろってんだよ。
Stop saying that already. What the hell am I supposed to do?
できれば飛び越えてください。
If possible, leap over them.
できるか？
Like hell?
では立ちふさがる木々を粉砕しながら直進するアグレッシブな方針でお願いします。
Take a more aggressive approach and destroy everything in your path.
どこのヒグマだ？
Do I look
って
like
い
a
うかそ
bear?
れ森林破壊だろ。そんなことしなくても、あっちにまっすぐ行きゃいいんだろうが、迷わねえよ。
Do I look like a bear and deforestation is enough of a problem already. I just need to go straight that way, right? I'm not gonna get lost.
そのあっちがすでに30度弱ずれているので説得力を見出せません。
That way is 30 degrees from the current heading. Your claim lacks persuasiveness.
少し勘違いしただけだ。
あなたには
You
無
will
理で
fail.
す。
淡々とした面で静かに言うな。もういい。じゃあな。一応道を教えてくれたことには礼を言っとく。
One word at a time like that. Enough. I'm out of here. Thanks, I guess, for showing me which way to go.
ありがたく頂戴します。しかし、そんなことより、どうかまっすぐ進むことにお気を向けてください。
You're welcome, but please focus on walking straight. You're already deviating from the correct heading.
ああ。
Right.
はい、そのまままっすぐ。
Okay,
そ
good,
して
keep
その
going
木
in
を
that
切り割っ
direction.
てください。
Now kick that tree down.
うる
時々こちらを振り返って、自分がちゃんと真後ろにいるかどうかを確認すると、直進の目安になるかと思われますが。
Look back from time to time to make sure I'm still directly behind you. That should make it easier to keep your course straight.
絶対見ねえよ。
No way.
どう思う？
Your opinion? I ask Muramasa once Ayane's uniforms have become a distant blur through the
あ
trees.
の娘が村へたどり着けるかどうか
And whether she'll make it to the village?
Oh.
Yes,
着くんじゃない明日くらいには。
I think so. Sometime tomorrow, maybe? As best as I can tell from here, her deviation is already nearing 45 degrees. He's just like, well, I gave her the right direction. Good enough for me.
警告の叫びが一度、攻撃の叫びが一度。方角は北西、あざ丸の陣象。
One howl in warning, one to signal the attack. They came from the northwest, Azamaru's hunting ground.
駆逐の叫びはなし。果てたか、あざ丸。ご苦労であったの。
So you've finally met your end, Azamaru. Rest well.
さて、敵はすでに我が結界を打ち、となればうかうかしてはおれんかな。大官殿を殺されても困るし
So
の。
the enemy is in my territory. Well, I can't sit here twiddling my thumbs while he kills the prefect now, can I?
出迎えてやるとしようかい。いざ参るぞ、上門の
Let's
城
go.
村正。
Time for our next fight. Let's greet our guests then. To battle, Uemon Nojo Muramasa. Ready for our next fight? I assume he starts with an ambush. I ended up walking Miss Ayane to the village so the sun is touching the lip of the horizon by the time I resume my search. The forest is dark, though not yet too dark to see.
急ぐ。
Let's hurry.
え、
Didn't you just sleep now? It's probably not good to be spending a whole day up exhausting your own personal energy reserves when you're supposed to be recharging as well. Even though Tsurugi's sight is not affected by lack of light, the darkness still brings many difficulties, including a greater risk of ambush. Ideally, I'd like to finish this before the day is out. Only 4 or 5 hours have passed since my duel with the prefect, not nearly enough time for him to recover his strength, and even if he possesses extraordinary vitality, he should only just be getting back on his feet. Yeah, and? You haven't done anything to rest. He's been resting for 5 hours. I mustn't expect an easy fight, but the situation is not yet unsalvageable.
ね
I was thinking
何か。
about...
え、思ったんだけど、やっぱりさっきの犬は変じゃないかしら。
The dog we saw, didn't you find it strange?
見るからにな。
It appeared to be. Judging by its size, it had to be a close relative of wolves, if not a wolf itself. It's generally believed that Yamato's wolves have been hunted to extinction, but one can never be certain.
そうじゃなくて、いえ、そうなんだけど、あれだけの体、餌がいくらあってもそうそう足りないはず。
Not that, well,
けれど
yes,
こと
that.
さら飢えているようには見えなかったでしょ。
I mean, there shouldn't be enough food around here to feed something that big, and yet it didn't seem starved, did it?
確かに。
Rude. Well, it didn't look particularly well fed, neither did it appear desperate for food.
それに飢えていないのなら、どうして人を襲ったのかしら。
If it wasn't hungry, why would it attack a human? Wild dogs and wolves can be aggressive and will fight ferociously to protect their territory like most canines. However, they're most comfortable when operating in packs. It's difficult to accept such an animal would attack something as large as a human without support, and moreover without being desperate for food. I mean, yeah, rune bears attack people all the time. for no reason. They even disguise themselves as people. I don't know how bears are able to do so, but they can.
もしかして
Just a
と
thought,
思うのだ
but
けど、
yes.
あれは誰かが
What if the dog was someone's above you? Claws, but what?
猿
A monkey?
いいえ、
No, that's... The monkey's fur gives off a dull shine. Steel.
剣
Tsurugi.
いかにもその頭は合算十三味と申す
Just
我が
so.
一族伝来の一品よ
Yasan Jusanmi, the monkey is called. A treasure of my clan passed down for generations. That's right, a monkey, Tsurugi. A young woman appears from behind a tree, her feet falling soundlessly upon the dry autumn leaves. But the voice just now belonged to an elderly man. Where is he hiding?
いかがした
What's the matter?
挨拶としてはいささか比例であったかなどうか多めに見てやってくれわしも剣も山育ちゆえそやな振る舞いが染みついてしまっておるで
I hope you'll forgive me if my greeting was a tad uncouth. My Tsurugi and I were raised in the mountains, and I'm afraid our ways might seem a bit unsophisticated to civilized folk. The woman is beautiful, almost sinfully so, but the voice that issues from her full lips is that of a wizened old man. I can't help but feel a disconnect with reality, as though I'm watching a puppet show where the actors have mistaken their roles. For a moment I fear I've fallen into the clutches of a malevolent yokai.
ご老人と呼べばよろしかろうか
Would it be rude of me to address you as elder?
見ての通り枯れ果てた老いぼれよ下手な気遣いは無用この年になるともう若いと政治を言われても素直に喜べぬでの
Can't you see the damage time has wrought with this body of mine? No need to rear false compliments, youngling. When you reach my age, you stop appreciating such things. Oh, the woman laughs once more in that ancient raspy voice of hers. Could this be a hallucination brought on by exhaustion?
先の戯れは挨拶と受けたまわったしからばご用向きもおのずと知れるがさように受け止めて差し支えはありますまいか
If your greeting just now was indeed sincere, then it is easy to infer the nature of your business, or is my judgment too hasty?
なかろうのなかろうのこの老体をしてまいたは雇い主たる代官長坂を守らんがため
Why not at all, these old bones?
無念かな主と茶を飲み交わす仲にはなれまいて
Speak faster, old man. The real suffering of old men in anime is having to listen to them speak insanely slowly. Not at all. These old bones are bound to protect my employer, the prefect Nagasaka. As much as I'd like to take tea with you, that is impossible while our goals are, as they say, at odds. No, officer? I'm not surprised that she, is one of the prefect's underlings. Such an encounter was expected, if not that I would have to face a second Musha. However,
代官の前で警察を称した覚えはないそもそもこの素顔も晒していないはず
I never identified myself to the prefect, nor showed him my face for that matter.
しかしご老人あなたは迷わず俺を襲ってこられた
But you attacked me without hesitation as though you knew I was your enemy.
なに教えてくれるものがおったまでよ
I'm no soothsayer, if that's what you're wondering. Someone told me what you look like.
それは
You mean?
杖を携えた筋物か確か
The Yakuza with the cane. Sorimachi Ichizo,
一
was
蔵
it?
という
主とはチキのようだの因縁でもあるのかね
Seems you two are already acquainted. A sordid tale, perhaps?
道で行き合った程度の縁
We met once before in passing.
このような場所で再会する不思議が気にはかかっていた
Still,
彼も代官の協力者なのか
I thought it strange our paths would cross again in this place. Is he also working for the prefect?
小器用な男での重宝しておる GHQ とパイプを持つというだけでも心強い
先輩。
本人は駒遣いなどと言うておるが、なんの
Not a bad idea.
味方につけて役立つのはそういうものよ。
Halfway through reading, you change this to text speed to the highest setting so you could read all at once instead of waiting for it to load. Yeah, sometimes it's a little bit slow. I've noticed that. I wonder if this is the right menu. I think the text display speed could be a little bit faster. We'll see what it's like there. In times when there's just dialogue appearing, it seems a little bit slow, and I've had to wait a couple times. We'll tweak it a bit. So the man is the link between the prefect and GHQ, in which case his purpose at the mayor's house was likely to negotiate with Lieutenant Otori. He was rebuffed, then reported to the prefect. That seems the probable course of events.
彼は今
Where's he now?
さてどこかの忙しい男だって。
A good question. I haven't the faintest idea. He's a busy man, after all.
周囲に気を散らすのは結構だがの。
Can't stop the old man
わし
from
の
speaking,
ことも
though.
忘れんでおくれ。
Pain.
それはちと寂しい。
Oh. Worry about him if you'd like, but try not to forget about me. It hurts to be ignored.
せっかく楽しみにしておったのだからの。
And I've so been looking forward to this.
とは
Oh, how's that? No, I definitely need to accelerate it for the dialogue scenes where he's thinking or where no one's actually talking. It's slower than my reading speed. It definitely needs to go up.
哀れな村の衆をなぶって回る遊びにもちと空いておった。歯応えというものがな、どうしてもの。
But I think sometimes
い
that
わば
old
皮肉
Japanese
を
men
囲っ
should
て
just
お
have
ったのよ。
just have a one and women should have a 1.25 multiplier on their voice lines. They should just speak faster because it's like, oh my goodness, please speak faster. I've grown bored of toying with the poor villagers. They don't have enough fight in them. I suppose you could say I've longed for a tastier morsel.
一つお伺いしておくか。代官に加担する理由はよもや
A question
そ
though.
の遊びが目的と言われるか。
Why support the prefect? Surely you're not here just for the entertainment.
まさかそこまで暇ではない。
Oh, don't be foolish. I only wish I had that
暇
much
で
time on
あ
my
れば
hands.
よかったがの。金よ。せちがらい話だが金がいるのよ。我が一族はとある名門に仕えておったのだが、この家がしばらく前に世渡りを誤って
I'm
の。
penniless. A tough thing to be
廃
these days.
絶の浮き目にあってしもうた。
My clan used to serve a great house, but they bet against fate. The fools. And they were obliterated for it.
煽りを食って身分から収入まで失った我らに残されたのは、クソの地といえば聞こえはいいが、雑穀もろくに実らぬ狭い山あいの所領のみ。
As a result, we
枯
lost
れ
our
死にを
status
待つばかりであったよ。
and our income. All we had left were our ancestral holdings, a tiny mountain valley where you can barely grow millet. Huh. Slow, wasting death awaited us.
史跡を追われたと。なら
You lost your warrior
その
status.
剣は
Then that Tsurugi,
無論没収されるところであったがな。つてを頼ってお上の慈悲をこい、どうにか見逃してもろうた。もっともそのすぐ後で GHQ の剣狩りにかか
I
り
see.
追放に帰したが。
it was nearly confiscated, as you'd expect, but we managed to convince the shogun to show mercy and let us keep it. Of course, then GHQ comes along and takes it from us anyway.
そこへ現れたのがかの男、反町一蔵での。山掘りで荒稼ぎしようとしている男の話をわしに教えた上、協力するなら GHQ に手を回して
Highest rank
剣を
under
取り戻そうと受け合ってくれてな。
Shogun. And that's when Sorimachi Ichizo brought me an offer. If I agreed to help a man dig up an old mine, he'd arrange for GHQ to return my Tsurugi.
わしが飛びつかぬはずも
Well,
あ
how
る
could I
ま
say
い。
no? It doesn't make sense. This man Sorimachi is working far too hard. finds a place for himself among the shogunate's men, while at the same time making himself useful to GHQ. That's not extraordinary. It's one of the many ways people get by in these troubled times. While such middlemen are prized in certain walks of life, they aren't accustomed to making work. They know their purpose is to be used to others, and if that they sit back and wait with easy jobs with great rewards will come to them in a constant flow. What I've heard of his activities are to believe this Sorimachi is far too proactive. It doesn't fit with his role as an intermediary, the sort of person who's ideal for someone who just wants to do as he's told. What's more, he even arranged the return of a Tsurugi? GHQ has outlawed the possession of Tsurugi by anyone not a member of Yamato's standing military, presently Rokuhara. All privately held Tsurugi have been confiscated. Evidently not. I've heard that these Tsurugi are just sitting in a warehouse gathering dust. For many reasons, the language barrier, for example, or simple physical incompatibility, Yamato and Tsurugi are unsuited to use by GHQ soldiers. Even so, Tsurugi or Tsurugi, is it hard to believe they would release such a precious item at the request of a mere go-between? There has to be something else at work here.
とまあそういう次第でな。一族を食わすためには代官の目論見を成就せしめねばならん。である以上、代官の敵はわしの敵。
So now you
ここであっ
understand.
たが100年目となるわ
The
け
woman
よ。
thing finishes, paying no mind to my concerns. If the prefect fails, and my family starves, his enemies are my enemies, and you and I have no choice but to fight.
ご事情は理解した。そのためにこの村を犠牲にするもやむなしというお考えか。
Your position is understood. Am I to understand also that you're willing to sacrifice the village for your goals?
うん？なんぞつまらんことを言わせたいのかの。弱肉強食だのどうのこうのと。たっての要望とあらば口にせんではない。
Survival of the fittest and all that? Like a villain in one of those radio serials?
もう恥ずかしくはない
Good
か
God, old man, stop talking, please! You just don't shut up! I will if you insist, but won't you feel just as foolish hearing it as I will saying it? Quite.
さなやなこと
Let's move on, shall
は
we?
でもよかろて。港景明殿。で確かかな。さあそろそろそちらの雲村正の恥をわしに味わわせてはくれぬかね。
Minato Kageaki, was it? I think it's about time you gave me a taste of the legendary Muramasa's steel, don't you? He even knows of Muramasa? I haven't spoken to my Tsurugi to anyone here. Not the prefect, not even Lieutenant Otori?
ご老人いささか知りすぎてはいまいか。
Even for one of your years, you know far too much.
この先は太刀打ちにてつかまつろう。ガッサン
Did you have any further questions? Ask them with your blade. Gassan?
迷いの六階地獄ガキ畜生アシュラ人間天人いざゆかん
6 realms of desire we roam. Naraka, Preta, Kiryagoni, Manisya, Asura, and Deva.
悟りの視界正門円楽菩薩に仏いざゆかん死して生あり生して死あり死とは生なり生とは死なり死して実界生して実界
4 realms of enlightenment we seek. Dravaka, Pratyeka, Bodhisattva, Buddha. Death brings life and life brings death. Death is life and life is death. 10 realms in life and 10 in death. It's monkey time. Oh my god, his face is like a monkey. Where there are demons, I slay them. Where there are saints, I slay them. Mine is the way of the sword.
相模足柄は風間谷の
Not the monkey fight. Not the monkey fight from Sekiro. Not back to Sekiro. Not the monkey. He's just gonna run for like 20 minutes. From Sagayami Ashigara. I am Kotaro of the Fuma clan, wielding Gasan Jusanmi. Jusanmi? Jusanmi. Sagami Ashigara. Are you from Ashigara? Fuma Kotaro. What do you know? He's a ninja clan. What do you know? He's a ninja from a ninja clan. Interesting.
Yeah,
it's Fuma Kotaro. He's a ninja. First among Musha, Muramasa, how about you?
Fuma Kotaro ka?
Fuma Kotaro? See? See? And beginning the fight with Fuma Kotaro. Off to the skies we go. I say I've never enjoyed the sensation of rising into the sky. It fills me with a strong unease, like staring into a fathomless void. I envision myself vanishing into its maw and a cold shiver runs up my spine. Looks like we're at about half power this time. So we're starting around where we were with the previous fight. I wonder if this one will go easier because they're not empowered by the egg, or harder because they're actually a competent fighter. I'm curious to see how it goes, but I think we're gonna have to find that one out next time.